Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Britton's Social Club. This is a show where uh, myself and whoever decides to come on hang out and talk about what's going on in the world, rather it be books or, well, whatever comes to mind, really. Hope everyone's doing well today. Let me just. Why am I like that? Stop it. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well. How's everyone doing? There's only 2 people here so far. That is wonderful. I know I'm one of them because I just joined in because I like to watch. I like to watch the chat. Let me see here. But hello, everyone. How y'all doing? Raph, my man, how you doing? If you want to join in, you definitely can. I am just relaxing here today. It's been a week, we'll just say. Not really. I didn't really do too much, but yeah. Hope everyone's doing well. I've been getting reading done. I started The Given Day by one Dennis Lehane, which is quite good so far. Oh, your nephew was born about an hour ago. Congratulations. Bringing a child into the world. I mean, that's always a beautiful thing. I don't know. Bringing him into this world is a great idea right now, but you know what? It's always a good thing to be brought into the world. Didn't come out right, but good to see you nonetheless, Raph, in any form. Oh man, I'm just. Mars is so much nicer this time of year. I'm looking forward to the day where, like in those old science fiction movies, or like, how it is in like 2001: A Space Odyssey, where they're just flying around in the space, ships and just drinking and having a good time. I'm looking forward to that day. I'm looking forward to that time. Well, I don't know about that. Some might say I have pessimistic views on human nature. It wouldn't be true because, I do think people's better natures can prevail. But a lot of but there's going to be a lot of strife because, it's like I think it was George Carlin who said this. Don't underestimate the stupidity of a group of people packed together, because oh man, he knocked that one right on the money. But yes, hopefully so I guess I'll ask you guys, what are you guys reading at the moment? If anyone wants to mention what they're reading. Hello, Tharnell. How you doing? Good to see you, buddy. Telling Raph how much of a congratulations. That doesn't make any sense. I was congratulating Raph because he has a new nephew in the world who has been gifted to us mere plebeians. I thought that Project Hail Mary was going to come out in like May, so I had like the book. I wanted to read the book before seeing the movie, and they didn't do shit. Like, they did not. It's in March now. we're in March. They're putting it out in March. Also, hello John, how you doing? But they put it out in March, so I'm completely discombobulated now. I kind of want to see it in theaters because I've heard it's actually quite good. A friend of mine who's a big science fiction reader like me really liked the movie and liked the book too. But you know, it's fine. I find I find that with Andy Weir, he kind of for any I've only read one of his books, and that's The Martian, which is a quite good book. But I have heard the criticism that he tends to kind of, you know, he has a shtick and he kind of keeps with it, which is, you know, that's fine. That's fine. You know, whatever works for him works. But you know, I do like to see someone who at least likes to challenge themselves. You know, I'm kind of reminded of what am I trying to say? Just saw it last night. Not a book reader, but it was decent. 7 out of 10, maybe. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, I like Ryan Gosling. He's been in some. He's picked some really fascinating movies to be in. You know, like he was in Drive and Only God Forgives. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, it's kind of like a modern take on that sort of competent man type of science fiction, you know, that like Robert Heinlein liked and um if was popularized by Robert Heinlein. I'm sure a lot of people from that period. Why does it keep fucking bugging out like that? Stop it. Sure, that'll help. It's always the fucking internet. Hello Mac. How you doing? Always glad to see you here. I have heard of this book. I know a lot of my friends who are into sword and sorcery really like it. Excuse me. Oh, jeez. I don't know. Oh, man. Wrong hole. Oh, man. I know. I saw that. That was unfortunate. My friend Sebastian Weiss, who I just recently had on my channel, by the way, to talk about his book, which is called Driver. Not anything to do with Drive, by the way. It's a very different story, but um, very good book. I read it recently. I thought it was fantastic. I had him on to talk about it. We talked very general, non spoilers for about 50, almost an hour. And then for the other hour, we basically went into depth about the story. You can check it out. I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, he was a big fan of James Salas and was I actually was the one who informed him about it, and he was I felt really bad after that because he didn't know, and I was like, well, shit, that's unfortunate. Excuse me. Excuse me. Promise I'm not choking to death. Anyway, so yeah, nice. Glad to see people are. Why does it keep fucking? Oh my god, it's gonna annoy me. Hope you guys can hear me okay. We're all good on that. Hope you guys can hear me and see me. Oh wow. Oh. Okay, again, I hope you guys can hear me okay. Um, yeah. Hold on real. All right, guys, sorry about that. I uh I don't generally like hearing myself, but I hope you guys can hear me okay. Hopefully I don't sound too bad. I'm still figuring out this new mic situation that I have. Okay. Okay, it sounds normal. Okay, it sounds normal on my end, even though I don't like myself all that much. So there you go. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Hopefully I'm not bugging out too much. But yes. Yes, I know that Salas wrote some science fiction. I actually follow the Michael Moorcock Facebook page, and they were kind of talking about how he was kind of part of the new wave. Uh, I don't know how the true that is because I know him more from his work in crime fiction, like Drive or the Lou Griffin series. I've not read any of them, but I know it. Like I know it from like pop culture osmosis, if you want like that. The Drive film is fantastic. However, so yeah, there you go. But yes, glad to see people are here. For anyone who's interested in knowing what I'm reading at the moment, well, I mentioned earlier I am reading The Given Day by Dennis Lehane, which is quite good. Though I'm only like barely 100 pages in, so yeah, it's probably going to take a bit to get to that. I am also probably going to be reading Absolute Martian Manhunter soon because oh man, I've been wanting to read this for a while. Um Sorry, I got distracted there for a moment. Really like this cover. I was thinking about waiting for like a deluxe edition or like a trade that's going to collect all the 12 issues, but um in the one single trade because I just get irritated at DC and Marvel for splitting all of their maxi series into two trades. Just put it into one fucking trade, guys. But I just couldn't wait to read it, so I had to kind of break my rule there. So that's gonna be kind of annoying. But yeah, I'm reading that, and I'm also reading Mushroom Blues by Adrian M. Gibson, which I am probably going to complete this evening. So yeah, there you go. Huh? Well, that's cool. And it's unfortunate he passed away because I've been wanting to read his stuff for a good bit, and I haven't gotten around to it yet. I am thinking of reading Drive this year. We'll see where I sneak it in. It's not very long. That's one of the good things. So I could probably just sneak it in somewhere, and it'll be fine. But I have to go get it on the internet, so that's gonna be fun because it's not sold in any of these bookstores that I go to. Jesus. But yes, again, hopefully everyone can hear me okay because my internet's being kind of weird at the moment. Um, yeah. So there we go. That's true. I could do that. Yeah, no, I haven't done that yet. Might have to do that. So yeah, I might just do that. Um, I just saw recently that he died as well, Len Dayton, which kind of sucks. One of my friends, Aaron Hook, cool guy. He runs a channel. He was quite fond of his stuff, so yeah, I thought of him when he passed away. But yeah, he was 97, so it wasn't like he was taken too soon. Um, though speaking of taken too soon, Sam Keith unfortunately passed away. Most people probably remember him from the Max, which is like this kind of very exaggerated, over the top kind of series. I've not read it myself, but I've heard it's quite good. He also did some of the first few issues of Sandman, which a lot of people remember. That's where I know him from. Um, I thought for some reason that he was the one who illustrated 24-Hour Diner. I was mistaken. That was Mike Dreitenberg. So yeah, I was talking with a friend of mine about it last night who's a big Keith fan, and he's like, "It's fine." So yeah. So no, he did not do 24-Hour Diner, though Mike Dreitenberg did, and he did a pretty good Sam Keith impression in that book. So in that story, I mean. That's a good issue. Very messed up though. Really well done in the TV show, before it got canceled. Mac, you always read like really odd, like obscure book. Well, not always. You've read like, I saw you read like James Elroy a few months ago. I remember that when you read LA Confidential, that was fun. Talk to you about on that. But yeah, it's always fun. I always like seeing your comments. I'm actually hoping to get While Darkness Gathers. I really enjoyed your comments when you would just list all of these references and little things that Philip put into the books, or maybe even stuff he might not have thought of. I don't know, but just a bunch of like references to stuff that he was all the like myths and legends and history he was referencing in the Dan trilogy, which I hope you'll do again, because I am definitely planning to have him on to talk about While Darkness Gathers, whenever I get around to reading it. Which will hopefully be soon, because you know, I've been meaning to. I'm trying to read more standalone fantasy, right? Like that's one of my goals this year. So I'm definitely going to be reading While Darkness Gathers, even though it is kind of a sequel to the original Idan trilogy. So there you go. Let me see here. So many damn. Too many damn socialists on the internet. Anyway, but that's about what I've been reading. What I'm going to be reading next, I don't know. I'm probably going to focus on the given day until April shows up, and then I'll figure it out from there. I'm either considering just saying fuck it and go for The Star's My Destination starting April out, or I'm going to just kind of wing it. We'll see where I land. I have, yeah. It's kind of funny. I've been kind of reading the quartet backwards. So I read L.A. Confidential first because I really like the movie. I think the movie's great. And then I read the Black Dahlia in 2024. I actually did a review of it if you want to watch it. And then I did The Big Nowhere last year, which both are good. It's kind of interesting seeing Elroy kind of grow into what he would do with LA Confidential, the kind of stripped back style. Black Dahlia is good though. It's not as great as LA Confidential is. Not as epic, but it is very good. There are certain passages from that book that still kind of that stick with me after all these years. But that's always fun. I like the Big Nowhere quite a bit too. I think the Big Nowhere is really fun. It's like a little blue. It's like a blueprint for L.A. Confidential. I've had a real soft spot for that book. I think it's a really really good read. But yeah, no, but yes, April should be fun. I'm gonna be reading Gloriana during the month, which I'm looking forward to. But I'm also kind of scared because I've heard like Gloriana is like Moorcock at his more cockiest, which I guess if that makes sense. Which we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's probably like not the herb, but that's like the like real big like standalone fantasy I want to try. Also, the Stars My Destination should be fun. Curious to see how it holds up. Oh, Raph really likes the seventh function of language. I mean, I've never heard of this, so I don't have any opinions. Yes, there is a new Elroy documentary coming up. The one I really like is called Feast of Death, which is one that was made like during like his apex, where he put stuff like American Tabloid and the Cold 6000 and stuff like that. Um, it's a lot of fun. It's I kind of like to recommend it to people who want to try Elroy for the first time, just to get a gist of what he's like and kind of how he rolls. But it's a lot of fun. You really get to like just see him hang out with a bunch of his friends, and he talks about his life and um um yeah, he's he kind of does his thing, his kind of demon dog thing, which is fun. We kind of see him talk to his family and see how he relates to his friends. Nick Nolte makes an appearance. He's like freaking hammered out of his mind, and they're talking about murders around the actual feast. It's a lot of fun. You can find it on YouTube. I'm sure that's where I first saw it anyway. Then again, that's if you're like a super freak like me and like watching stuff about authors and watching interviews and stuff because I'm fond of that stuff. Like, what's funny? I was watching interviews with Tom King, the comic book writer, before coming on here, because then I might have issues with his stuff. I'm a bit back and forth on King, but I love watching interviews with the guy. He seems like a really cool dude. But anyway, Mac, I would recommend Feast of Death. It is a really fun documentary. Well, fun, but it's also kind of like messed up. So yeah, there you go. Oh, my buddy Shay sent me a voice. We'll listen to it after uh But yes, that's kind of what I've been up to the past week. Is I did complete Animal Man, by the way, which a lot of people might have been wondering, like, oh, weren't you reading Animal Man? Yes, I was, and I finished it, and it's really good. It was quite good. I really enjoyed it. It's um it's kind of Grant Morrison's first swing, and it was a lot of fun. It was really fun seeing him bring back all these kind of obscure characters from DC lore, which I'm kind of a sucker for. So what are you gonna do? Also some really strong like single issues, and also a really cool like metafiction element. Even though I'm not really a big fan of metafiction, he makes it work. I'll give it to him. He makes it work. That reminds me, I gotta check something on my Goodreads. Oh, yes, I'm sure many of you probably know. Speaking of the Adan trilogy, because I was kind of simping over it yesterday. But yes, all three. Yes, I repeat, all three of the audiobook versions of the Adan trilogy are done. I have shared it on Instagram and Twitter, and anywhere else I've planned to share it. Um, but he and Alan did a little show yesterday talking about it. So yeah, go check it out. It's fun. And go check them out because our boy Philip needs some of that cheddar, if you know what I mean. He put a lot of work into these things. So, pay him back. We make his hard work mean something, if you know what I mean. Okay, it is 100% postmodern. Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that, Mac. But also, while you're at it, so now, Raph, because the 3 Adan books are out, I will be pointing at you and saying, when are you going to do the Adan books? Because they're all out now. So there you go. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to read them. But I would love to hear your thoughts on them. I think they're quite... all 3 of them are really good. I still really love the first one the best. I don't know. I just thought it was a really nice change of pace from a lot of the other book ones of a series that I've read. Like, there's an arc, where Day Raven goes from Yeah, no, Philip Chase. Yeah, I appreciate that too. It's very convenient, honestly, because you can just grab all 3 books and read them and have a good time with them. Yeah, I mean, from all accounts on Philip's channel, from what he's talked about, it sounds like he kind of that was kind of serendipity. I don't know if that's what he intended to do, but yeah. I'm also glad that he completed all the books before putting them out, because that would have really sucked if we got a Song of Ice and Fire situation with his books, or a King Killer. Even though I've not read any of the King Killer books, and I don't know if I want to. Honestly, I don't know. I had to go to the toilet. What if I miss? Well, I was talking about Animal Man and how good it is, and I was also impressed that Grant Morrison put so much into 26 issues, which you might think that that seems like a bit, but no, it's not that long, considering like big runs that have been around. Philip Chase, all of the Adan books are in audiobook form now, so if you guys want to go see it, that's cool. And what else was I saying? Oh, I was recommending Elroy stuff to Mac, because Mac was talking about the new documentary that'll be coming out, and I'm like, well, you should check out the Feast of Death, which is, I always say, is a good kind of taste tester if you want to get an idea of what he's like and what his work is like. So there you go. That's the gist of what you've missed out on since we've been hanging out here. And again, Philip Chase put out some new goodies. Again, all the books are in audiobook form, so if anyone wants to go get them, Raph, go on ahead and do it because it's all three of them are well worth a read. I think probably the best like traditional fantasy trilogy that I've read in a good while. Like it's I say tradition. Oh yeah, I did finish Jade City as well. I forgot to mention I finished Jade City. Also quite good. It's much slower paced than I thought. Than I suspected, but it's good. So yeah, it's quite good. The Godfather influence is a little thick, I think, but well worth the effort. I think. I thought it was really cool how much she managed to do in that first book. So yeah, definitely looking forward to reading the second book. Some really great characterization stuff like that. So if you're like in the character stuff like that, I generally hate this, but if you're like a character first reader, you should read Jade City. It's good. The character dynamics are really strong. Hello, Sebastian. How you doing? Glad to see you here. Um, he says I already own the first two in audio, but the third will have to wait until next month or until I suddenly find a lot of money. You know what? You do you, buddy. I'm not. I won't pressure you then, because I know money's tight nowadays. The economy is kind of ass water at the moment, or is it? I don't know. I'm talking out my ass here. Um, I keep seeing my friends, or I keep seeing a lot of booktubers talk about Dungeon Crawler Carl, and people are like, "Oh my god, those books!" And I'm just like, okay. I mean, I'm not really in the lit RPGs. To be fair, I haven't really read that many because I just kind of go. It's like those progression mangas. That's what those are called, right? Any manga fans can feel free to correct me, but those like progression animes or whatever the fuck they call them. It's like, well, it's like a video game. Like I kind of just want to play the video game, like I don't know. Maybe I'm off my rocker here, but I didn't know you played video games, Sebastian. But yeah, man. But no, I keep hearing people go, "God damn it, donut," and I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's from Dungeon Crawler Carl." So yeah, I know Brian was pulling hard for it because he just likes lit RPGs in general, and I'm just like, well, I just kind of want to play the game, you know. So hey, maybe I'll read it and I'll like start simping for it, like everyone else seems to. But you know, I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say. Try solo leveling if you want a good progression manga. Okay, I think I've actually heard of that. I've seen because I do follow the occasional manga YouTube channel. Believe it or not, I do follow them. I don't think it is a game. It looks like it would make a hell of a video game, but you don't need you don't need to sing anything, John. It's all good. But if you want to hang out and chat, that's fine. um yeah. So um Bro, I tried. My friend. Okay, are we good? All right. Sorry about that. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, but my internet's being odd. Uh, my friend Gavin really likes Diablo 3 and made me play it. And let me tell you, it's truly immaculate. It's truly impressive that they managed to make a game where you're beating up demons and killing demons and whatnot the whole time. They make that so freaking boring. Because after like the third or fourth wave of like demons coming and you slicing them up, it gets really boring after a while. Um, so yeah, I don't really like Diablo games. I, okay. I'm not really listening to Primus. I've I only know them from like, well, actually, they did do the South Park theme, so I do know a bit of Primus, but I don't like listen to them religiously. Yeah, I tried to play like more famous um I tried to play more like famous RPG games like Planescape Torment, but I've bounced off of it most times because I just get real frustrated with it. Yeah, I know they're kind of in like Red Hot Chili Peppers vein where they like very bass heavy, or at least that's that's what friends have told me. I don't know. I don't follow either of those bands religiously. You know what? Speaking of video games, the only video game I've really been interested in I've been interested in playing in recent years, recent months, I should say, because I beat Mafia: The Old Country. I'm like, that might be the best game since Mafia 2 in terms of the Mafia series. I'm still looking forward to when Aaron wants me on to talk about Mafia: The Old Country. But anyway, uh played that and I've been kind of blocked. I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 5. Yeah, Battlefield 5, which is actually quite good. The campaign is about as generic as imaginable in terms of like story. Though if you're a fan of the Shield, Aceveda, the guy who plays Aceveda, um uh he's in it. He's great. Well, I have played Red Dead 2. That is the only game that has ever made me cry. So there you go. Love that game. Um, though it's funny you say that. I have considered just putting on, just re-downloading Red Dead 2 and just wandering around because I just do that because you can do so much in Red Dead 2. Like you can just run around and stuff, and it's great. It's the best thing Rockstar ever made. I think it's gonna be the best thing they're ever gonna make. Like I have no idea how GTA 6 is going to line up to that because like GTA 5 was good. Like I liked GTA 5. It wasn't as good as 4. I think 4 is still the best GTA, but then they put out Red Dead 2 and I'm just like, this is a masterpiece. I don't think they're ever going to top themselves after that. Like I really don't. Who's your favorite mythological hero? That's a good question. Wish I could say Norse, but I'm forgetting all the Norse um mythological heroes. So even though I don't really like the I'll go with the basic. I'll go with the basic. I'll just go with Odysseus. I really like Odysseus a lot. I was gonna say Hercules, but I decided on Odysseus. Odysseus is great. Which speaking of, if anyone wants to read and or reread the Odyssey with me, I'm going to be starting my Odyssey reread in May. So it's gonna be on my Discord. So come join my Discord. First of all, that's what you should do. And then if you have any insights, just go to the Discord where I'll put down Kind of like how I had the Sweet Tooth Discord server. Much like I had that. I'll just put one for the Odyssey, and you guys can comment on that and talk about all the details you picked up. Because I'm gonna get the Fagels edition because I don't want to get the Emily Wilson edition. I've heard it's like super nice, which like that's great, you know, for new readers. But like I kind of like the language to have a little umph, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm probably gonna pick up the Fagels edition. We'll see how that goes. Oh man. No, it's funny, Sebastian. We were actually talking about James Salas earlier and how your book Driver. I was telling people like, oh, you should watch our video we did together. But yeah, no, Odysseus. I like that he uses his wits to get out of situations, like with the Cyclops. That guy was an ass. Yeah, no, I read the Odyssey for the first time in high school and really liked it a lot. I thought it was good. Well, I don't even remember the first time I read the Odyssey. I read the Iliad, or well, I don't remember. Maybe it was in middle school. I don't know. But it's a great story. That's for sure. For sure. Anyway, but yeah, no, they're. I mean, both of them are good, but like Red Dead 2 just freaking smokes the first one. Like the first one's great. I really like the first one. Has that nice little spaghetti western. I actually replayed it a few years ago, and it still holds up really well. Um, but yeah, Red Dead 2 just fucking smokes it in terms of quality. I like it might be the best prequel ever made. Like I really do think so. Um it's great. It really it does what a prequel should do, which is add more context to the first game. And like Arthur Morgan's one of the greatest characters I've ever seen. Like he's great. It's really, really good. And again, it is the only video game that's ever made me cry, which is just, you know, that's never happened before. Like I'm not much of a crier. But like that last ride to camp, like oh my god. Like oh man. I mean Charles. Yeah, it would be fun, but I don't know if Rockstar wants to do that because they're all like, "Oh, let's do all the multiplayer stuff," and it's like I don't give a shit about any of that. But okay, you know what's kind of funny? I actually did you cry in the cutscene? No, I cried in the sequence when he's riding to camp. You know. Oh yeah, I did run into that guy. I remember reading about it, and he's like, "Hey man, how about you come and shot here?" And I'm like, "This is too suspicious." I end up shooting him and walked away. I shot him. Didn't I'm like, "You're not getting me today." And yeah, no. It's especially creepy, like camping out in the swamp because I have a massive bounty over at I have a massive bounty in Lemoyne because I just like hostile people over there. Like they'll just go be like, "Man, fuck you, fucking N-word lover," you know, all that stuff, and I'll start shooting people, and then they start like shooting at me. Or there's also one where these like Lemoyne come to the bar and start antagonizing you, and I'm just like, I just shoot them, and then I get it, and they were causing a problem. What do you want me to do? I'm not Walker, Texas Ranger over here. I'm a cowboy. Cowboys fucking shoot people who gives them problems. um, but speaking of that, yeah, no, there's those like creepy swamp people that you run into who are like, they're like the guys from like Bone Tomahawk who are like, I don't want to. Is troglodyte? Is troglodyte? Is that like a offensive word nowadays? I don't know, but they're like the troglodytes from bone tomahawk, and they just like they'll come out of literally nowhere with like these custom made hatchets, and they'll just fucking murder you. Like it's nuts. It's crazy. And you're like, what the fuck? Yeah, no, it's weird. It's really weird. Yeah, no, they always just pop out of nowhere and just kill you, and you're like, what was that? You know. But anyway, yeah, no, Chuck Norris did die, which is unfortunate. He was a fellow Okie. He was born in Oklahoma. I don't know if he died there, but yeah, he was in a lot of fun action movies in the 80s. He was in the Enter the Dragon. Got his ass kicked by Bruce Lee, which, you know, there's worse people to get your ass kicked by. I mean, aside from people who were kind of complaining about him being a conservative, from all accounts, nice guy. So, I don't know. Though he did promote the birther conspiracy, and, you know, that's not cool. Don't do that, guys. That's not nice. President Obama was an American. Is an American. He's still alive. Anyway, going back to video games, yeah, the swamp people are always kind of, yeah, they're freaky. They'll just kind of. Amazing people aren't perfect, lol. Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of the gist of it. I mean, Uh-oh. We got ourselves. You just got that? But anyway, we got ourselves a guest in here. I am having a pretty good Sunday, even though I'm kind of bummed that, or well, I don't know if I'm super bummed, but anyway, guest, you know him, you love him. He's a frequent guest on this show. Raph, how you doing, Raph?
Hey buddy, how you doing? I'm all right. Just a bit wrecked. Maybe having a cold. I don't know. So we'll see how long my voice will hold. But I did bring something to, soothe my throat. Cheers.
Yeah, I was starting to get kind of like, oh boy, is anyone?
Thornall, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, how was Greece? I remember you went to Greece recently.
Yes, Joe, I did survive Athens and Thessaloniki, which was probably the more risky proposition because it meant getting up like after the last concert on Saturday, so coming home at like 2, maybe 3 a.m. I went to bed for 2 hours, got up at 5, took a quick shower to go to a bus and take a bus from Athens to Thessaloniki, go to another concert, sleep for like 5 hours on the couch in some friend's Airbnb, and take a bus for 9 hours back to Athens. And don't ask me why one trip took longer than the other. Just what happened. So that was pretty brutal for like the last end of the trip. But yeah, so that's what I did last, well, not summer, last week. And yeah.
Yeah, no, but yeah, glad to see you back, back in action. Congrats on the new nephew.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if it's the greatest idea to bring him into the world as it is right now, but you know what? What are you gonna do? Baby's gonna baby.
let me put it this way. He and I have had the same amount of choice when it comes to that. I don't know.
I'm curious when Sebastian's gonna start going off on his anti-natalist stuff. He'll be like, "Wait, we should stop populating." And I'm like, "Oh boy, that's." But anyway,
No.
Yes, a lot of stuff's been going down though. Like, you know, Chuck Norris died and Sam Keith died, but also the whole Afro Man situation has been absolutely insane. My mom was telling me about it yesterday. Gave me the lowdown.
Yeah.
And my
I
thing
don't
is,
think he has been this popular since that one song in like 2000 or whatever it was.
yeah, no, I'm just like, can you even imagine? Like the guy who did the song "Because I Got High," like I did not expect him to become a civil liberties advocate in 2026. That was not my bingo cards, but here we are.
I mean, to be fair, he was definitely ahead of the curve when it comes to weed legalization. So I guess
He's truly
personal
an innovator.
liberties, personal liberties have always been his thing. But no, it was interesting to see that. And I was like, oh well, that happened.
Yeah, no, those cops are. I'm just like, it's weird because my mom's been following this other case out in, I think it's in Massachusetts somewhere, where this cop got ran over. It was like a weird thing, and they accused his girlfriend of being the murderer. Well, to keep a very complicated story short, the whole the whole cops are just corrupt. Like there is serious evidence that like either they're idiots or they're corrupt or they're both. I don't know what's worse. Um, and they might have killed him. So yeah, there you go.
Which one?
No, there's this whole case in Massachusetts my mom was telling me about where they ran this guy over and they think it's very likely some of the other cops did it. It was not at all the lady. It was not at all his ex-girlfriend. So it's just so yeah, a lot of again, this might seem like a non-pro. I might get an eye roll for saying this, but man, there's a lot of corruption going on in the police. Shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you realize it at some point.
I mean, I already knew there were problems, with the whole Baltimore thing when they there's the whole Rampart thing in the 90s, and then so I mean I knew police corruption existed, but good God, it's rampant, man. It's ridiculous.
Of course. Yeah. Nah,
I'm not like anti-police or anything, but I'm just kind of like, dude, guys, get your act together. We need more professionalism here.
Yeah, don't drunk and drive in all your surplus military vehicles, motherfuckers.
I've listened to some of the songs from the Afro Man situation. It's insane. I'm just like, this is crazy, dude. Like, freaking like, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Which again, never would have expected that the guy who did Because I Got High would become like a big freedom of speech advocate. But you know what? I'm not even fucking questioning it anymore. This whole reality is just broken at this point.
He may not be the hero we needed, but he certainly is the hero we deserve.
Yeah, pretty much. It's funny because he also said Afro Man proves that not all heroes wear capes. Sometimes they wear star and striped suits. No, I watched his testimony where the prosecutor was trying to cross-examine him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I brought all these people. I brought all the media to get my money back." And he's like, "Well, why'd you do that?" And he's like, "Oh well, I didn't want to go up there and get I didn't want to go up there by myself to get like beat up or Epstein." I fucking died laughing when I heard that.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's always a bad idea to get like a comedian, performer, artist on like a witness stand. At least someone who just doesn't give a fuck, because they're trained at this.
Yeah, no, and he's just going all like, "Yo, man, they fucking stole my shit." Yeah, no, it's like they stole my fucking money, and like the lady admitted on camera that like it was short from what they took, and I'm like, "Yo, that's crazy, dude." I like everyone. I love how everyone just agrees. Like, yeah, no, Afro Man's fucking based. But no, that whole situation's crazy. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, it's nuts. And look, again, I knew there was like police corruption, but like, come on, like the incompetence here is just like I just want to go to the police station and go like, get your act together, guys.
Can we at least have like competent bad guys?
Something like that. I don't know.
But I agree. The most surprising thing is that they didn't find any weed on his property.
Oh, I thought they did. I don't.
No, they didn't.
My mom was mistaken, but no. But yeah, no. It's funny because his house is green. I'm just like, oh my god. It's like a big bed. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is nuts.
Well, I think I was more surprised that he actually lives in fucking Ohio. I was like, how did that happen?
You know, that is a good question because like I've heard good arguments for both, but I'm starting to think because of just how many instances I have heard of like cops who are just super incompetent and or just awful or corrupt, like transferring to other divisions because they don't want to get like fired from their their job. And I'm just like, yo, this might be a fucking systematic issue at this point, which again, there might be some people who are like, yeah, Britton, we know, there's probably going to be those like, like super left people in the comments who are like going to put their like glasses on and go like, well, this has been the case the whole time, but like, come on, like, this is embarrassing, guys.
No, I mean, obviously, Joe, you know where I fall on that question. Of course, it's structure. Like, it is something that comes with power, but like, power corrupts, and police has power, and that makes it very easy to be corrupt. The same way that being in charge of youth groups, whether it's in the church or in the Boy Scouts or whatever, makes it very, very likely that at some point, abuse will creep in. It's just like what happens when you have like hierarchies. That's the sad truth. There is that structures of power lead to that.
Yeah, it's but like I'm like, this is the second fucking time I've heard about this. Or well, not that specifically, but just like I don't even know, because my mom was like, so you know what happens when they send like police over on like the internet and stuff? I'm like, swatting? And she's like, yeah, that happened. I'm like, oh, well, they know who swatted him? And she's like, well, maybe the police did it. And I don't know. So answer is I don't know. But yeah, that whole situation's been crazy. I'm just like, dude, this is nuts.
Well, Thornell, you know what Lord Veginari says. Like, if we have to have crime, it might as well be organized.
I was thinking of sneaking in Feet of Clay in April, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. So probably in May, I'll see if I can sneak it in, and then we could do another episode of the Discworld Files. Woo!
We could do that for sure.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun.
One thing I found really interesting is, like, as I like earlier in chat, I'm currently reading the Italian folk tales or Italian folk tales by Italo Calvino, and it's interesting to see. Obviously, it's 200 folk tales, legends, anecdotes, that kind of stuff collected, basically. I just came across the most Italian, and in this case, even most Rome-centric fairy tale ever. With it's a typical fairy tale, like this princess, has to leave home, and then she becomes, the servant of this other prince. They obviously falls in love with him. There's a certain Cinderella component in there, so all of that. But then the prince becomes, and they go to balls and everything, like have big banquets and everything. And then the prince falls ill, and what he does at that moment is to go to his mother and says, "Mama, make me a pizza so I can get well again." And I'm like, that's
it's the most Italian thing ever.
You can eat whatever you want, but when you're sick, you go to your mother and you ask her to make you pizza, and then things will get better.
It's funny that Ori says that, because that's almost the same exact thing that Afro Man said in his testimony. He's like, yo, any of those cops hadn't showed up and just, they had just said sorry and like paid restitution or whatever, like this whole thing wouldn't be happening right now. I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't be. You're right, Afro Man. It also kind of warmed my heart a little bit because everyone's kind of everyone in America's kind of flipping out right now because Donald Trump's president and whatnot, and there've been all this chaos with ICE and all that shit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take this as a victory because First Amendment actually worked out here, and Afro Man won. So you know what? Maybe we're not as bad as awful as bad off as we think. I don't know. But
I mean, I guess the problem there is that it really depends on the local court that you're at, right? Like, I don't necessarily see Clarence Thomas siding with with Afro Man. Is what I'm saying.
No, I mean, I don't think it's gone to the Supreme Court. If it were, good God help us all. That would be a zoo. Well, that actually sounds bad. That would be a debacle. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. No, in general, like I really enjoyed the Italian folk tales collection. It's really interesting to see the sort of like when they differ from say Grimm's fairy tale versions, when they pull in like legends from Greek mythology and whatever, and you have like weird variants of stuff. So that's always interesting to see. But I'm also glad that I'm almost done because 200 of those gets somewhat repetitive after a while.
But no, that's funny. That is literally like the most Italian thing I've ever heard. That isn't like Tony Soprano just going down on a gabagool.
Yeah. I did apply a request or whatever you want to say, call that for an advanced copy on NetGalley for the first time today, and I realized how stupid NetGalley is.
Well, what book did you get?
I haven't gotten it yet. It's pending because it's Sunday, and I don't think that they do stuff on Sundays there. No, I requested a copy of Sebastian Mallaby's upcoming book, The Infinity Engine, which is a book about DeepMind and Demis Hassabis, the founder of Google DeepMind, because it's coming out next week, but I wanted to read it, hopefully, so I can use it for my AI video. So that's the plan behind it. But my point was, like, you click on request thing, and then you have to check boxes of. The only question I had to answer was like, how did you hear about this book? Or was like, why do you get interested in this? And then you can check the author. You can check a box for cover. You can check a box for title. You can check one for description, and you can check one for I've heard people talk about it. And I'm like, this is a nonfiction book. You should at least also go like, I'm interested in the topic. Shouldn't that be like one of the reasons why you want to read a book? I don't know. But I'm glad I can help Penguin with their market research, I guess.
Yeah, it's you actually made it to 1,000 videos recently. I saw it, so congrats on that.
That was a lot of work.
I was like, damn, he's cranking them out like it's going out of style. Then I've only made like 600 something, which I guess that's a lot, but
that is a lot. And I did start earlier than you, I think. Also, like for the
That's
first
true.
year, I made a whole lot because I did like the first 1.5 years were a lot because that's like when I did all the like basically daily Malazan update videos and then the whole like Wheel of Time thing. So that alone already covers probably more than half of all the videos I've made. It's just like,
Now the song's gonna be stuck in my head. Thanks, guys, because I got high. And I always remember the Kevin Smith stuff where they were doing. I think he actually did the music video, if I remember correctly. But I always think of that when I think of that song. Liam's here. And he says the Social Club Twain. Yes.
Just not Mark.
Lol, 13 videos in, it already feels like a lot. Yeah, that's an interesting tonal shift because Discworld, I don't want to say it's lighthearted because like there's a lot of sad stuff in Discworld, but the old 2 books I've read anyway, there's some dark stuff in that, but generally whimsical. If you want to, I don't know. I'm sure Raph will get mad and go on a tirade, but but Malazan's kind of this like darker, weirder thing. Where there's
You'd
like
be surprised about the
magic
level, like
puppets.
the amount of humor in and jokes in Malazan. There's a lot of humor, some very, very silly humor in there. If you like slapstick with fecal humor, then this is something you will find in the
I
Malazan
do
Book of
love
the
me some
Fallen.
slapstick.
There is some slapstick with people walking, having slap fights knee deep in shit.
Yeah, it's funny. I was reading Animal Man, and it actually kind of references some of those old like Looney Tunes cartoons from back in the day. And I actually watched some of those old Looney Tunes cartoons, like the ones where they're like arguing with the animators, and it still holds up. It's still really funny. Like they're still really good. I don't know if they had. I don't know if they have. Forgive my ignorance, Raph, but I don't know if they have Looney Tunes over in Germany, and I
Yeah,
don't
of
know how much
course.
they showed it, but I don't know how much they showed them out there. But yeah, I still think that hold up really well.
Well, Thornal, it's not donkey magic, it's mule magic, which is slightly
There's mule
bigger.
magic.
Mule magic or magic mules? That's the question.
No, that's funny. I'll have to. I'm like, well, you know what? I gotta find out where that's at because that sounds fun.
Well, you meet the first magic mule in Deadhouse Gates. So,
Oh, very nice. My favorite part of Gardens of the Moon was the magic puppet. Like that was just great. I'm like, I want more magic puppets. There was
you might encounter more magic puppets, but you definitely encounter. Oh yeah, right. There's a magic puppet hanging out in book 3. Also, more mules in book 3. Magic mules. In this case, it's Krupp or Kruppa's mule that may or may not be magical.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, I was watching those old Looney Tunes cartoons. They're really good. Like they still hold up. Which again, some people might go like, "Duh," but like, yeah, you can find them on YouTube. They're really fun.
Oh, you mean Beauchelain and Corbel Brooch? Yeah, they are really funny. But at this point,
Isn't that like
I've
his
also
Fafhrd the
read
Grey
this.
Mouser kind of series?
Hmm?
Isn't that kind of his riff on Fafhrd the Grey Mouser, the Necromancers?
I don't think there's a lot of Fafhrd and Grey Mouser in there. It did remind me of some Clark Ashton Smith stuff, though.
Okay.
In some ways. But it's definitely a more sword and sorcery-ish, more macabre, because he has this collection of short stories or novellas about Beauchelain and Corbel Brooch that are all usually from the perspective of their manservant, who for all kinds of reasons sticks with them even though he suffers mightily while they are trying to rule the world through, well, necromancy.
So to reference another cartoon, so it's like Pinky in the Brain. He's like, "Are you pondering what I'm pondering?"
It's very Pinky in the Brain, just with black magic in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. So in the Malazan world, so it can get quite gruesome and very graphic when it comes to the amount of corpses being dismantled and reassembled in different forms and so forth. Right, like it said,
It's funny. It makes me think of this idea once where I was on Twitter and I was going like, I kind of thought about doing this story where it's like this necromancer is like trying to like recover from his past, being like tortured and being trained as a necromancer, and he like opens up a shop somewhere, kind of like a parody of like cozy fantasy. And then someone was like, "Oh no, Andy Peliquin did that," and I was like, "Fuck!" I thought I had gold there, So that was something. I forget to turn on my on-air light. I think I did. What am I doing? Yeah, no. Yeah, that sounds fun. I'll have to read those wherever they're collected.
The Collected Tales of Beauchelain and Corbel Brooch, Volume 1 and 2. It's very simple.
Let me see. Where?
They even include a guest appearance by the Critical Dragon, AP Canavan.
Oh yeah. I do. Yeah, my parents got it for me a long time ago because I used to do gaming content, which no, I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but I used to do that. My parents were like, "Oh, we'll get you on air, so when you're recording, we don't walk in on you." And it's proved very useful because I still use it even now doing book content. So yeah, I'm sure you can get one on uh, Amazon somewhere. Pay your tithe to Jeff Bezos and all that.
Mhm. I don't think you need to pay your tithe to that man. Um, anyway, I think I probably liked the first, maybe the first and or the second, but it's been a while since I read them, and I did like the first one because Miller, and the more Miller, the better the Expanse book. That is just how things are. So the early ones kind of work. Stuff gets worse once there is no Miller. Um, And there was like one later one. I'm just trying to remember which one that was that I also did like for weird reasons, but I just can't remember which one it was.
I just okay. I deserve that.
We
I
wouldn't call
walked
him.
into that one.
We wouldn't use the word cartoon though in this regard. The German word is
Hitler liked Disney,
Zeichentrickfilm.
so it's not impossible.
No. The German word for cartoon would be Zeichentrickfilm. So that's what the border officer would say.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah, I was reading the other day about how like dictators like American pop culture, like apparently Stalin like cowboy movies. That's weird. Just hearing him, it would be weird just imagining fucking Joseph Stalin, this like man, this mustachioed man, watching like Red River in his mansion.
There is some really fun things about like Stalin's later career and his habits of partying, or at least making everyone around him constantly hammered until like 3 in the morning, and then forcing everyone to, because you couldn't exactly say no to Stalin, so everyone had to drink with him until like in the mid, into the early hours, and then watch cowboy movies with him until like even later in the night, and so forth. So like partying with Stalin, definitely something for the very, very, very strong of constitution.
Yeah, or again, Hitler liked Disney movies. Like, he was a big Snow White fan. I'm like that's like
That's
even
because
Drew.
that's because of the white.
He's like he like even had like even drew little dwarves. It's funny.
I mean,
I'm
to be fair, Snow White is one of the is a classic Brothers Grimm story, so it's easy to go with that one.
like, that is a good title for a book, Partying with Stalin. Well, I mean, there is the movie Death of Stalin, which is a really entertaining film.
That one is really good, yes.
And also it is exaggerated, but much of it
It's pretty
much of
accurate.
it is true.
The Behind the Bastards podcast had like a series, or at least 1 or 2 episodes on the whole like partying stuff with Stalin, and they titled it Stalin After Dark. You will learn
Yes,
a lot there.
It is based on a comic. I've not read the comic yet, but hopefully I'll have to at some point because I like the I did like it's not as good as In the Loop, which is just amazing. But it's a good movie. It's made by the same guy. Which is about as great a satire of early aughts politicians as you're gonna get.
Yeah. But as I said earlier, I already have the first 2 Idan books, and I saw the final one that came out like yesterday or 2 days ago, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wait until next month because right now, no money for books. Which is why I tried to.
You spent a lot of it in Greece. I hear you. Or well, maybe you didn't. I don't know.
Well, I did spend some in Greece, definitely, but I also had a couple of other things that I needed to buy that could not wait. So this month has been very, I needed a new thermos for tea, which is definitely the kind of really urgent thing. And then I needed a new stick because the old one broke. And being blind, you kind of have to get that thing. So that's stuff that just. And to be fair, it's only like one more week, and I think I can wait until like next week before I can get the third book in a trilogy. Right? It's not that urgent.
Yeah, that is fun. I think in the Loop is kind of a spin-off of that, but man, Peter Capaldi's great in the Loop. I've heard he's really good in the thick of it as well. It's kind of funny. I kind of view the death of Stalin as basically in the Loop, just Soviet Union. Like even like absurd stuff, you're like, well, that could not have possibly happened. It happened. Like the whole scene at the beginning with the music, and like the dude like passed out because he was so scared of Stalin. Like that shit happened. They literally
Stalin was a very, very scary man.
I mean, he was. I'm not saying he isn't. It's just like that whole situation where they had to make everyone come back in and do the show again. Like that happened because they were just so frightened of him.
Mm.
And also, like when he passed out, and the guards were like, "I ain't fucking going in there." Like, I don't want to get killed. Like that shit fucking happened.
Yeah.
And like I love it. It's like
I mean, to be fair, I think with a lot of like very powerful men, you have people doing shit around that. Like I don't know how the people that have to work with Donald Trump, talk about him and whether they decide to go into his room and talk. And imagine that like the Coke light has run out. It's like, would you want to be the guy who tells him that? Probably not. Might not get you killed, but certainly, I think
No, I bet
comes with
Trump wishes
power.
he was Stalin. Like, I hate to say this, but at least Stalin was competent. I hate to say that, but one of the most notorious people in history. But like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I have. But it's not computing for me at the moment. But yeah, that sounds like something that would happen in Hellboy.
It does sound like that, yes. I mean, Stalin wasn't really that competent. Like killing all your best generals right before starting
true.
war
Yeah,
is
that was
kind
a
of
bad
stupid.
idea.
But he was definitely when it comes to being in power for a long time, he was definitely on the longer side when it comes to dictators. Also, he died in office. That's not something that a lot of like dictators can say.
Yeah. Yeah, also killing all those real competent doctors wasn't a really good idea either. But
Well, trusting Lysenko when it comes to agrarian science also not a good choice.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Like he wasn't that competent, but like he stayed in power for a long time. I think when it comes to like European 20th century dictators, I think the most competent one for me, from where I'm standing, would probably be Tito.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't Tito the one like he kept sending assassins after him, and he finally got so irritated, he's like, "Hey, if you send another one, I will kill them, and I will send one, and I'm not gonna have to send another one." And Stalin's like, "Oh shit, not fucking with that guy anymore."
Tito also stayed in office until death, so not many people, not many dictators can actually claim that one. I mean, I guess what's his face? Portugal. That one also. I just can't remember his name right now. That one was also fairly competent. But yeah, being dictator, not as easy as it sounds.
No, you kind of have to deal with all your cronies scheming against each other.
Well, hey, speaking of those, some of them become artists, or at least try to. Like Saddam Hussein wrote romance novels, so
Yeah, for some reason, dictators like romance books. Like Napoleon wrote a romance novella before he did what he did.
No,
But
Saddam wrote those novels while being in power, like near the end of his career. He wrote romance novels.
oh wow, okay. I mean, I guess you
Oh
get
yeah,
bored.
Gaddafi wrote some science fiction short stories in his earlier life.
Yeah, no, I've only read
Yes, Salazar, that's the name. Sorry, I blanked on that one.
I have not seen this movie, but I imagine it offended a lot of conservative British people. Yeah, I mean, Franco just was like he was. I mean, I don't know how smart. I don't know if it really takes like a very brilliant person to see how much of a narcissistic moron that Hitler was. He's just like anybody with half a sense would be like, I'm not dealing with that shit. I'll let those idiots over in Italy and Germany bungle it for everybody.
That is very likely Thornall. Yes, Franco is also definitely up there when it comes to competency. I agree. I mean that's kind of the point. Like states today, in this day and age, a large nation state is very, very complex and
Right back.
needs a lot of needs a lot of structure to run and a lot of like shit going on. So dictatorships are oftentimes very difficult to do competently unless you also build up enough of a functioning bureaucracy, that kind of stuff, or your state is fairly small. I guess it's why military dictatorships like that are started by generals you know oftentimes are a bit more successful, because as long as you also have the military behind you, you already have a functioning bureaucracy sort of going on. So I think that does help in some regards, and obviously having a smaller state also helps. And then obviously not being sanctioned and blockaded to death by the United States probably also would help. But what do I know?
And the chemical weapons were actually perfumed books. Yeah, I've heard Kim Il
So
God damn it. Who's the one? It's Kim Jong Un. That's it. Like apparently he liked Western films as well. So again, I guess a lot of I guess dictators really like cowboy movies.
yeah, the transition. I think the transition part definitely is something, but I feel like the lack of prosecutions might be the big problem there with Spain, like in a lot of ways up to until today.
Yeah, once the communists started shooting priests, everyone was just kind of like, "Oh no, save us!" And Franco's like, "I shall do it." And then, well, got real nasty after that.
The Spanish Civil War is a very, very complicated situation. And it certainly helped to have, support from very powerful allies who really, really were scared of communism or anarchism, as the case may be. And I think that's like one of the really important elements that we often kind of forget. There is like how much of how insanely scared people were of, and still are, of the idea of socialism or communism. And it's like
Well, they
literally
looked
like
at
the
Russia and
level
were
of.
like, "Well, look how well that went."
But like we're talking about back in the 1920s and 30s, when the Soviet Union was seen as definitely as marginally successful, right? So that's the point. It's like in hindsight, that's a whole other thing. But like people were scared of it because people were the same way that people were scared of fucking FDR and going, "Oh no, he's going to bring socialism to the US," which is when you should. And I've told you that before. It's like check out the stuff about the business plot and how close the United States came to becoming another fascist dictatorship. It's scarily close.
It started when I watched High Noon. Yeah, that movie about when that guy has to face off against yeah, because the guy who faced off and held on to his integrity like that, yeah, that totally turns you into a dictator. It's like, oh, you know what? It gave me the idea. I should just shoot all my enemies. You know, that's a good idea. It's like, yeah, well, yeah. Ugh, man. Anyway, no, but yeah, but it's, you know, it's like kind of what Raph was saying a while back. I guess all wars are pretty nasty, huh?
That's kind of the point of a war, isn't it?
Yes.
But hey, the thing that I've learned is that we now have AI to do the war crimes, which I assume means that war criminals are now getting UBI that Sam Altman has always been in favor of.
They always find advanced ways to commit war crimes against each other.
Yeah. Who knew that when they said that AI is coming for your jobs, they meant war criminals?
Henry Kissinger is just like rolling in his grave, like, damn, AIs are fucking upstaging me over here.
Very much that. Now I can't. Now they are having machines bomb the schools. We can't even do that ourselves anymore. That's how far this country has fallen.
I mean, I wasn't really a Kissinger fan, but you know, who is? I don't know. Well, a good book about the Spanish Civil War that I recommend all the time is Homage to Catalonia from George Orwell. It's a really good like inside look on how it actually went.
Yeah, that definitely a good one. There are obviously really good, studies now on like the internal struggles between anarchism and communism and Bolshevism and so forth. And it's a messy thing because figuring out how to run the future, how to build the future, is really difficult. It's like it's why there are so many bad science fiction novels and so few really good ones. And those are just books.
Yes, it's yeah, it's also a really good book about how easily people just kind of throw away any principles of making a better world. It's just getting rid of the enemy, basically. Then again, I read the book like 10 years ago, so I might be forgetting some things. You know, I actually own that book. It's funny story how I got it. I kind of stole it from my school, but yeah, I own that book. It's actually no, I think I have it right down here somewhere. Oh yeah, right there.
Well, I'm gonna do the reasonable thing and go to the fridge. I'll be back in a minute.
But yeah, no, Homage to Catalonia is a good book about how good intentions can be corrupted by authoritarianism, which is kind of something that George Orwell knew a bit about because he was there. He got shot in the neck while fighting for the Republicans. And then basically they just started shooting at each other, and Franco's like, I can use this. Because like the problem with a lot of left-wing movements is well, they can't really agree on anything. So it makes it easy for like the kind of nationalist, fascist people to go like, oh, well, these guys are idiots. We can just steamroll them. And it's pretty much what happened in Spain. Like I said, when they started shooting the priests, like, oh, it was over. It's like, because, Spain's a very Catholic country. It's kind of like what happened with the French Revolution, honestly. It's like no one could agree on where to go. Then they started shooting people and other people who didn't like the shooting, and also the fact that they were blowing up Catholic churches. they were like, "Yeah, this is a bad idea. We should do something about this." And then Napoleon showed up. So I'm sure Aaron knows a lot more about this than I do, because, well. Anyway, Homage to Catalonia, fantastic book. I highly recommend it. Let me see here. Yeah, those people are fucking idiots, though. I mean, I don't know. I don't really like any of those people. Also, is Megyn Kelly even right wing anymore? Like, I thought she was more like a moderate. Yeah, even Tucker Carlson's going like, does Judaism or does Israel actually have a place? And you're just kind of like, what are you talking about? Yeah, it turns out that forcing people to share their work with other people is a bad idea. It just makes people not want to work anymore, which is kind of the core failure of socialism. I wonder if Sebastian's still here. I'm sure he'd have a lot to say about that. But yeah, it's kind of the problem when you have central planning. When you force people to do stuff, they're like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. I'm working, and these people are getting their fair share of what I've worked to earn. Like, come on. Anyway, but don't listen to me. I'm just some guy.
Are you though?
I'm some Okie dude.
Oh, right. It says on the channel label.
Yeah, it's funny. Some people are like, so how'd you come up with that name? And I'm just like, well, I thought it sounded funny. So there you go. Oswald Mosley, that's a fascist guy, isn't it? There's like, he was like super right wing, wasn't he? I could be wrong on that. Aaron, you can feel free to correct me. But then again, when has Tucker Carlson actually been right? That's the real question of the hour.
Well, good question. That the best thing that ever happened to Mosley was the Battle of Cable Street. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, he led the British Union of Fascists. Oh, okay, so I was right. Because I'm like, he was that was either the guy who wrote the what was that book called? It's that book all those fucking Hans Hermann Hoppe people like to masturbate over. It's like The Decline of the West or something like that, or was that another?
Oh, the Oswald Spengler one, Der Untergang des Abendlands.
Oh, that's Oswald Spengler.
Yeah,
it's also
Oswald Mosley is the one who led the British Union of Fascists, and Oswald Spengler was a German writer. The first part is a two-part book, and I think the first one was published in like before World War I or shortly thereafter. There's a long gap between the two, but like before Oswald Mosley did anything.
I give you. Oh, stop.
And then his son or grandson then was like boss of the Formula One racing forever, because being a fascist does apparently not actually have any consequences if you are a British fascist.
Yeah, no, I get them mixed up because I don't know. I guess they have O's in their names. I don't fucking know. But anyway, yeah, it's always those ones that those Decline of the West fucking idiot reactionary people always masturbate over. It's that book.
John, I'm going to tell you something about the whole Marbell thing. I highly recommend you read a book, and it's The Master Switch: The Rise and Fall of Information Empires by Tim Boo. which does cover a lot about that specific issue and the question of monopoly and the need for antitrust and trust busting and shit like that, and how it was in fact the military-industrial complex that prevented several attempts of breaking up Marbell to make sure that innovation could in fact happen. So there you go. Really good book. Highly recommend it. It's very much not a radical communist or anything else book. It's written by someone who worked in the I think DOJ or whatever. He's an expert on antitrust law in general, so highly recommend that one.
But do fascists read? That's the real question. I would think some of them do, but I don't know.
When it comes to fascists reading, I highly recommend Jordan S. Carroll's book, Speculative Whiteness, Science Fiction and the Alt-Right, because it explains how fascists, or in this case, neo-Nazis, read. And that is very selectively.
Yeah, I mean, there's people like Steve Donahue who say they don't read, but I take half of what Steve says with a grain of salt, so,
I mean, there's a lot of people who don't read, so there's also like a lot of fascists who don't read. That's just how it goes.
I've never even heard of adobo brick homes. What are you talking about, John? Explain yourself. Unless Raph knows what I'm talking about, or what John's talking about.
No, I don't, because it doesn't show up in my version of the chat for whatever reason. Maybe it's lagging.
Well, we got another guest in here. You guys probably know him. He runs a rather underappreciated channel here on the internet, and that is, of course, Aaron Hook. How you doing, Aaron? Or Aaron, can you hear us? Oh, how you doing, Aaron? Took you a minute. You were kind of loading there.
Yeah. No, it was all sort of circles in front of me. That's what's going on. Yeah. Am I coming through clearly?
Doing all right, just yeah, I'm just chilling, man. Yeah, we're just having a good time. I've always been really disappointed with like kind of libertarian movements because they always tend to just kind of go full reactionary, and I'm just like, guys, this is not what we're supposed to be standing for. But that's why I kind of got disenfranchised with the mainstream libertarian movement, because they were kind of flirting and embracing straight up fascism.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, guys, what are you doing? This is not what we're supposed to be doing here.
You might want to look into anarchism then, maybe.
Well, I did, and I just kind of was like, yeah. It's like you read like Hans Hermann Hoppe, and you're just like, not even fucking libertarianism anymore. This is just straight up fucking fascism you're talking about here.
Yeah, of course. Like right-wing libertarianism always leads to fascism. That's unfortunately part of like where this goes. It's kind of baked in, because if the idea is that everyone is an individual and the strongest individual will always be, you can see how that is already in there. It's like it's a very like win or lose, dog eat dog kind of thing. You can believe in that. But you can only believe in that if you also believe that you have it in you, for whatever reasons, to actually come out on top in that constant struggle, right? And that means you have to be something of a supremacist. And if the world doesn't go the way you want it to go, and you don't suddenly are on top of the world, probably that's because someone nefarious is keeping you from that, and that's right when you end up in weird directions.
What do you think? What do you think, Aaron? You're a bit more conservative than me. I call myself more of a classical liberal. What do you think about this trend?
I think it's in many cases. I think it's over sort of estimated. For the most part, it's actually not. We're not seeing a sort of rise of fascism. for a start, there's a question whether it's fascism at all. There's given the nature of fascism as it was in the interwar period, and for the most part, you really are just talking about Italian fascism as opposed to things beyond that, because there's a question a lot of the times about the nature of quote-unquote fascist parties or regimes outside of Italy. Well, fascism in the 30s was a modernist, progressive in the Whiggish sense of the word, ideology. They're intended to carry out a revolution across society to create as far as they were concerned, a better world, which was not anti-modern, but in fact an alternate version of modernity. Whereas most of the people that we now call fascists aren't even that. Don't have any attempt at that. They're I think calling them fascists is a misnomer, to be honest. Today.
I mean, I would argue that there are certain there are traditional lines between the two, but I agree that, especially like Italian fascism, you have direct sort of like them coming out of the modernist sort of like movement, right? Like the futurists in particular, right? That is clear. But like when you read like academics like, I don't know, Roger Griffin, for example, who have spent quite a lot of paper, ink and paper on trying to explain what's going on with groups that are explicitly sort of like calling back and trying to put themselves into a tradition with fascism to explain where that kind of stuff is going. I think they do have a point. Like, I don't always agree with Griffin in everything, but he certainly, he certainly knows what he's talking about, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I do. I agree that Griffin is a great author to read, but if you want to understand fascism, he's probably one of the best, along with Roger Eatwell, who also wrote a very good book called I think it's called Fascism History. It's gone through a couple of editions, but I find it difficult to sort of. There was so much of a break between what's going on now and what there was in the interwar period. Not that there aren't links, obviously, because in Italy, so the neo-fascist movement actually did survive and continued into the 50s and 60s, and there was I think it was an attempted coup at some point in the late 60s, early 70s with Borghese. In the Italian forces, but a lot of the modern movements are they're tenuous. So, for example, if I take Britton, for example, the links between, say, something like Patriotic Alternative, which is Mark Collette's lot, or let's think, stay with them for the minute. The link between them and Oswald Mosley are tenuous in the extreme, and
absolutely,
it's just the ideology is something there's something different. They may have had links back in the past, very distantly in the past, tenuously to say Mosley and the BUF, but there's something they're new, as it were. So I find describing them as fascist is a bit. It's inaccurate. It doesn't accurately describe the threat, as it were.
No, I tend, especially with Britain, I do agree. I think the parallels in a lot of ways are a certain sense of the aesthetics. I think is one sort of like continuity in a lot of ways, that it's very much about that. And of course, taking over a lot of like the racist elements that you had in all of these fascist movements and focusing on them over all the other elements that were part of like Italian fascism or British fascism, right? So that's something where I see like that they have focused on like that one thing in a lot of ways, and take over some of the aesthetic elements of or like a primacy of aesthetics in general, like a presentation of spectacle in that regard. I think that is something that is sort of like in there still. Not obviously spectacle in that regard is something that a lot of like other movements also have, but I think that's where I see the continuity.
Oh yeah, no, I'd agree. And they also, in the British case, they all sort of play up Mosley as this great patriot, this great man. Most of them don't know, for example, he was a lifelong supporter of Irish nationalism, and that he was, for example, a strong supporter of British membership of he was a pro-European. He campaigned in his post-war evolution of the BUF, which is known as the Union Movement, for Europe nation. And he essentially, in many cases, he makes the arguments. The arguments a lot of people who are pro-European today make about sort of resolving differences between the different European peoples. He essentially was making that argument in the 50s, which I find very funny for people who sort of promote him as some great patriot to think, well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, which does maybe hint at the fact that that modern day fascists maybe don't read that much.
Yeah, that was one thing that there's a number of things about Brian Bookish's video about what is fascism, but that was one of the things he said, that fascists don't have a philosophy or a moving sort of idea behind them, and I was sat there thinking, yes, they do. They most definitely did. All the fascism of the interwar period had people who were in-house philosophers, and they were sort of theorising and talking about fascism throughout the interwar period.
Yeah, I think the problem there is obviously that they obviously didn't all fully agree. It's more like I guess in philosophy terms, it's more like a family resemblance thing than like an actual, like you have like one monolithic definition of fascism. There's like, what like someone like Evola was writing is very different from like whatever Carl Schmitt was writing and so forth. Right? Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
John, actually, it's kind of funny because Aaron was he shared a post the other day. It was a George Orwell quote about that very thing, where like they just throw that word around where it just kind of loses its meaning, which is kind of something George Orwell had a lot to say about in that regard, about throwing words around until they lose their meaning. That's all about. That's what 1984 is partly about.
I've got to say, one of my favourite things about sort of the BUF in the 1930s is that a huge number of suffragettes ended up in the BUF, and there's a very famous one of Nora Elam, who saw the inside of the same cell in Holloway Prison twice. First in 1914 as a suffragette, and then for the second time in 1940 as a senior member of the British Union of Fascists.
Hey, so nice to see you. How you doing, Bab?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of why I'm wary when using the word fascism, because like when I think of fascism, I think of like Franco's Spain or the Nazis.
But like that's the thing, that all of these are somewhat similar movements in that they have similar sort of like, I mean, that's why someone like Umberto Eco with his like earth fascism goes like he is a set of like things, and all fascist movements have like one or two of these, but they don't all have like all of the points. It's more like a checklist kind of thing. It's a bit like a personality test that you have like in some used to have in like magazines you could find like doctors' offices and so forth. They're like, well, if you have more than 20 points in this, you are definitely an egotist, and if you have more than 25, you're definitely a fascist or something like that.
Franco's regime in Spain is one that I always get very sort of wary about calling it a fascist regime, because obviously there were fascist elements in it, the Phalange, but I don't think Franco himself, and certainly not the Carlists, were fascists. They were something, in the case of the Carlists, something that not just they were so much anti.
They were more like radical conservatives, really.
They were fascist curious, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, we'll go with that.
I mean that's kind of what allowed both Franco and Salazar to sort of like stay out of like
like if I could like think up a name, it's like conservative nationalist or something. Aaron, what do you think of this?
Also heavily Catholic. That's another
that as well
thing there.
Yes, Franco particularly, and more broader Spanish nationalists in general, would have been regarded as what right in conservatism. You have two sort of rough schools. This is very broadly speaking. You have the sort of Anglo-American school of Edinburgh, and then you have the continental school, the Latin, some kind of called Latin conservatism of Joseph de Maistre, of Throne and Altar, and Franco was very much in that part, along with quite a bit of
way more de Maistre than Berg, definitely.
Yes. Oh yeah, and that's one reason why I find sort of labeling the Franco regime as just fascist is inaccurate. It doesn't fully describe what that regime was.
I think it also because of that difference, it allowed them to stay out of World War II and thus survive the whole thing in a sense that was very much not possible for Italy, or Germany, obviously. And I think, that's why I said fascism curious, I guess, in a sense. Like they happily allied with fascism when it was to their benefit, but they kept enough distance to also move away when it felt like a stupid idea to go all in on this whole on this World War II thing, which probably one of the smarter choices there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if it took a genius to go see how dumb Mussolini and Hitler were, but I'd say it's probably one of the smarter things that Franco did.
I think it always depends on at what point in time, because a lot of people felt that both Mussolini and Hitler were absolute geniuses, very long, much longer than you might be comfortable with, right? That's the sad part there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how these because I'm quite fascinated with political philosophy. How does this work? So people don't always work that way. Is what I'm trying to say. Like the philosophy would suggest. So you're just kind of like, well, this is the best we can do, at least right now. But yeah, no, let me think what I was trying to say. But yeah, no, I agree with you, Aaron. It's kind of inaccurate to call it like a straight fascist, or in Franco's case. Again, he was more like a conservative, like a really radical conservative, maybe like authoritarian conservatism. Maybe is that a good way to describe it? I don't know.
Yeah, very much
Nationalist?
so. He's a sort of his politics was not with Italian fascism and even Nazism. You can say that was modern politics.
Mm-hmm.
Franco and a lot of the nationalists outside of the Phalange were sort of they weren't even modern. They were sort of they weren't fighting the Bolshevik Revolution. They were fighting the French Revolution, as it were. And so they're sort of pre-modern, if that makes sense.
Yeah, not all revolutions are like the American Revolution. That's what I'm getting at. Even though it is fun reading about Jefferson and Hamilton's beef, because that was at least they didn't kill each other.
I watched some of the Doge depositions yesterday, and before they were taken down, and I was when they had those two Doge boys explain what they considered DEI and so forth, and had to cut and so forth, and when they were talking about the founding fathers and that they put everything in about the founding fathers that was not political, and I'm like, you motherfucking idiots, what about the founding fathers is not political? Starting a revolution and writing a constitution is apparently not political. Come on.
Run by a bunch of donkeys is all I'll say.
What always gets me with the way the Americans generally treat the founding fathers. They treat them like secular saints, where they most definitely weren't. For example, that people go on. I've heard people sort of go on about partisanship in the United States today. Have you ever read about American politics in the 1790s?
I was about to say, yeah, it's Jefferson called John Adams a hermaphrodite. It got nasty.
And to be fair, it never got much better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, still today we're kind of in the like, oh, there's like the Hamilton kind of people who are like, oh, we should have like a strong, efficient government running things, and then there's more of the people who are like, no, we should have less government, more power to the people. That's kind of more where I lean, but both have their strengths and drawbacks.
One of the funniest things when it comes to that whole like states' rights and so forth conversation is that Joseph Smith was very much arguing, like actively arguing against the concept of states' rights in when he was trying to establish his his religion. And when you think about like what what the LDS Church nowadays believes, which is like states' rights allow them to basically rule Utah like how they want to, suddenly they are bang on on the side of states' rights, which explains how so much of this is a question of perspectives. Like,
Perfect.
If you run your own state, of course you're gonna go like, well, states' rights are this perfect.
Yeah.
If the state you're stuck in right now is really oppressing you, then you're like, no, we need a strong government to come in and kick those motherfuckers in Missouri and somewhere between the legs.
Yeah, it's the same with the debates during the 1850s of all the sort of the North and the abolitionists all being very strongly in favour of states' rights when they tried to impose the new British Slave Act, and they were all firmly in favour of states' rights, and all the people who would eventually become Confederates were very strongly against states' rights at that point.
Yeah, I remember reading that like Jefferson Davis would later go on to be like, dang, I wish I had that authority that Abraham Lincoln had, because he couldn't get resources from the other states because like, fuck this, we're doing our own thing over here. So, again, I don't like the Confederacy. I think Confederacy was a bad thing overall.
Well, in the American Civil War, I've always wondered who Jefferson Davis hated more, Lincoln or Robert Toombs, the governor of Georgia, who he was continually fighting with throughout the war.
Well, I mean,
everyone's always fighting against each other. It's kind of inevitable at this point.
I don't think it is inevitable. It just is something that has been sort of like is a consequence of several sort of like elements and a lot of like aspects of like how we educate, how we run our societies these days. Like, you don't have to do that. Cooperation is a thing that humans can do. It is possible. It has been done before.
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you, but it's kind of like, the monkey brain can be a powerful thing, That's all I'm saying. It's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I try. The guy's like, I don't want to do it like this. Maybe we should do it like that. There's that party that wants to go like, oh, I understand where you're coming from, but there's that other part where it's like, this guy disagrees with me, so that means he's bad. Let's go shoot him. And everyone's like, yeah, that happens too often in history.
I would recommend to you to read The Dawn of Everything by David Graeber and David Van Gogh, because it is a really interesting look at history, and
I'll have to check that out.
It's really good, like, because it's obviously not perfect and so forth, but it is a very good and well sourced argument for alternative ways of running a society and how we did that in different places, and how a lot of this is choice and not something that is inevitable.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, like America, I mean, Jefferson might have called John Adams a hermaphrodite, and other people might have called Jefferson a coward and an atheist, but like mostly everyone was like, okay, let's work together to make this thing work. For the most part.
I love the fact that between Jefferson calling John Adams a hermaphrodite and people using the T slur nowadays to insult people, nothing has changed. When it comes, political discourse is still mostly about men trying to emasculate the opposition by using slurs. Amazing. How much progress we have made.
I was about to say, well, I mean, to be fair, John Adams wasn't always, could be rather prickly, just in general.
Well,
him and Alexander Hamilton rather infamously hated each other, even though they were in the same party.
Yeah. Have you, Britton, have you read Anti-Intellectualism in American Life by Richard Hofstadter?
No, but I did add the book on my ever-growing list after you recommended it to me a few months ago.
I think you might enjoy it, and because he does obviously cover a lot of like that aspect of history as well, to look at like how sort of like being actively anti-intellectual has like a very clear tradition in American politics. Famously, a lot of it is about, and around Andrew Jackson, for example, is when a lot of this becomes mainstream for all kinds of
Andrew
historical
Jackson
reasons.
fucking ruined American politics. No, but you know what's funny? I was listening to a Tom Waits song the other day, and it's literally
That's
just
a good
him.
choice.
It was literally just him growling about what was that fucking song called? It was very striking what I was trying to get at. Some people might go like, "Well, isn't that a lot of his songs?" But I'm like, "Well, yeah, but this one he was just fucking going at it, man." Let me actually find it. It's called. It's about the military. So let me see. Oh, military song. Oh, Hell Broke Loose is what it's called, except instead of Loose, it is Luce. So there you go. And it was like, it's really intense. I was like, damn, okay.
That does sound fun. No, Tom Waits is amazing. I have this weird Ramones tribute album from like, I don't know when. It's like a tribute to the Ramones, and it has like the weirdest bands on it. There's a Red Hot Chili Peppers doing one, Kiss is doing one, Metallica is covering the Ramones, and Tom Waits is also in there doing one of these very Tom Waitsy things. It's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, no, I've not really listened to much of the Ramones.
They're not that good.
They're not that good. Okay. Oh.
Like, I mean, here's the thing: they have a couple of like really, really catchy songs, and you obviously know all of them. Pet Sematary, obviously Blitzkrieg Bob, I Want to Be Sedated, and so. But like, it's very, very catchy, but you don't need, unless this is really the thing that you always want to listen to. You don't need to listen to more than like one, I don't know, 5 songs. Then you have like experienced the entirety of the Ramones. It's a very, very limited band, even within punk rock.
Yeah, I've never really been much of a fan of punk. I just kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I was raised in middle class America. Then again, there's a lot of middle class Americans who like punk music. So I don't know. Never been my thing though.
I mean, that's like, especially with American punk, because there's like a big difference between, say, British punk and like European punk rock and American punk in a lot of ways. But like, it's a very middle class kind of thing, right? It's a white middle class thing. I mean, the singer of The Offspring has a PhD in microbiology at this point.
Oh, well, accomplished guy right there.
And the singer of Bad Religion has a PhD in evolutionary biology. So, it's a very middle class kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I'm just, I know not all, I'm sure not all punk, screams the lyrics at people, but like, I'm just not into that. I mean, I guess there's some aggressive music I like, but like, I like, Led Zeppelin, but it's not really punk though. It's not punk.
No. It very much is not punk, no. I mean, there's really interesting, weird shit going in, like when you go to the sort of like the edges of punk rock into like hardcore and I don't know. If you ever listen to Fugazi, try that one. Might be interesting as an experience.
Yeah, or like I don't know, a lot of it just seems like boiled, unhinged rage, for lack of a better word, which that might be a perk for some people, but I don't know.
I mean, some of it is like a way to sort of like to find a way out for like frustration and so forth, right? That's a big part of it. Like you go to a punk rock show, to a hardcore show, or even something like thrash metal or whatever. You spend like 3 hours in a mosh pit. You can blow off a lot of steam in that situation in a sort of like hedged in safe way. I would argue. So a lot of it is about finding a safety valve for aggression and frustration with the world.
You know
which is
what's
a good
funny?
thing.
You know what's funny about Fall Out Boy? I actually liked some of their like normie stuff they did about 10 years ago, like Save Rock and Roll. Like I listened to that a lot in high school. It's a lot of fun. Not really an emo guy, so you know. There's some metal I like. I like more like progressive metal. Then again, I just like prog rock in general. So there you go.
Now, in my head, Thornell, you are now singing. I want to know what punk is to the melody of the Foreigner ballad. I hope that is exactly how this is going.
I always feel like that song you just put on when you're like yeah. I always think of those songs like in those old movies where they have like those breakup montages and the dude's like looking out the window and crying.
Yeah.
That song. It's like that.
Which one?
I want to know what love is from, I think you said Foreigner.
Foreigner. The thing is, like, I've seen Foreigner live once, and it was incredible. Like, if you ever get the chance to see Foreigner, do it. They're like insanely good musicians. And in this case, it was at Wacken Open Air, which is one of the largest heavy metal festivals in the world, and they played like straight before Iron Maiden. So everyone was already there, like 70,000 people, like fucking spikes, leather, the whole fucking 9 yards. And they start singing "I Want to Know What Love Is," and everyone sings, knee deep in mud, covered in corpse paint. Everyone sings because obviously everyone knows that song.
I really like Cold as Ice from Foreigner.
That is also from Foreigner, and Urgent is from Foreigner, and Jukebox Hero is from Foreigner. It's, they have a lot of songs you might know.
Yeah, my dad loves them. He's always telling me because he grew up in that era. So there you go. Yeah, no, it's man. I mean, I'd be bad at parties because if they put on my music, they'd put on like Kind of Blue, and people are like, "What the fuck is that? Like, what the hell is this?"
Yeah.
Like, it's not good party music.
No, not all music is good party music. That is certainly true. Of course, you love Primus Demidrag. Of course you do. No, they are playing at a Brutal Assault Festival in Czech Republic this year, and I might be going there. So I'm very much.
I always just think of like Primus as like aggressive bass,
There is a lot of aggressive bass because of Liz Claypool being such a dominant person in that band, obviously. But they are just like really weird. Like they're all over the place and do insane shit. But I think like also like the aggressive bass thing just comes from the South Park theme, which is very bass. I have not seen the nominations for the Nebula Awards yet, Thornell.
I don't really pay attention to awards at all. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna go on my little non sequitur rant about awards. But Paul Thomas Anderson finally won an Oscar. Not for The Fucking Master, not for Phantom Thread, not even for There Will Be Blood. And you know what? I can forgive There Will Be Blood because No Country for Old Men's a great movie too. But you give him it for fucking One Battle After Another? It's not even one of his best movies. It's good. It's really good. It's not one of his best movies. I fucking hate award shows, man. I hate them.
Yeah. I mean, there's like all kinds of different award shows, I think. There's like and I feel like the Oscars are like one of those like weird ones. They're probably, I guess, you can compare them somewhat to the Nebulas, because there's like every member of the group gets to vote. So they're a popularity contest, but a gate-kept popularity contest by people who, at least on paper, know what they're doing and talking about. And then you obviously have your, very curated stuff, like a Pulitzer or like a Booker or whatever, right? Those where you have like a small jury of like, once again, at least on paper, very, very competent judges deciding what has merit or whatever. And then you have your like full-on popularity contests, like the Goodreads Awards, right? Where everyone's like, well, the Goodreads Awards are so bad. Goodreads Awards mean nothing. It's like, well, that's what most people read. You don't have... It is fine. You can't blame Goodreads for that. You have to blame the entire reading population, or at least the entirety of people that are willing to use Goodreads, which, fine, but the company, for once, is not to blame.
But yeah, my only familiarity with Primus is the South Park theme.
It's a good start.
It's you know what, mate? You know what? I won't say anything more about Primus because I don't know much from Primus. But yeah, it's like Rage Against the Machine. Just not a fan of their music. I mean, Bulls on Parade is fun, but not really into that, super aggressive music, I guess.
Yeah, I've never been interested in them. It always seems anyway, I put it, they all seemed a bit try-hard. Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, they seem a bit gimmicky, Then again, I don't really agree with their politics, so I'm not like an impartial. I'm not like being impartial here.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's like when you're like 14 and you read like People's History of the United States for the first time, and you're like, oh man, everything I've been told is a lie. That's kind of what Rage Against the Machine sounds like. It's like those kids who are like,
yeah.
They're just like, no, the government lied to us. And I'm just like, oh my God. Okay.
But here's the thing. Someone has to say that at some point. In hindsight, you're like, in hindsight, it feels it's the same thing. You going like, God damn, our police is corrupt. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, motherfucker. Of course they are. You know what I mean? At some point, you have to have that realization or have to make that statement. So,
It's like this parody video I watched once where it's like, yo, fuck hip hop, fuck Drake. And, you're just like, okay, like, like I get someone has to say it, but like, oh man, come on. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. My point is, I'm not really a fan of Rage Against the Machine. No, You've been reading anything of interest lately, Aaron? Last things I've been seeing from you were some of the Sharp episodes.
Yeah, well, actually, come on, you don't. Look at that. What? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've been reading a couple of things. So, at the moment, since sort of February, I've been working my way through Riches of Paris by Eugene Sue, which that is a book. It was originally serialized.
Yeah, that's a fucking chunker.
Yeah, but the reason why it's so big is because it was originally serialized between 1843 and 1845, I think it was, in a French newspaper with weekly installments. And so it's very much it. I would say it was pulp before that. Yeah. So the way I'm reading it is I'm trying to read it in roughly the weekly installments that it was published as originally, which I've worked out as roughly 2 to 3 chapters a week. Because obviously, having been sort of serialized, there's sort of natural cliffhangers that you can sort of work out as you're reading them. So, yes, I'm reading that. And I've been reading the stories of Arthur Machen, The Great God Pan, and some of the short stories. That's for an event that Bob Freeman's running called March of the Magicians. And and I'm going to be reading next week. Sledge.
Oh yeah, that's a good book. It's funny. I was actually talking with Nick the other day about Sledge, and he's like, "Yo," he's like, or I forget what it was, but you could probably find it on Twitter. But he was like, "Yo, it gets pretty dark and Sledge." He's like, "Oh, it was basically like if you don't like violence, like don't read Sledge." And I'm like, and I was like, I don't know if like Sledge will get to the depravity of a Blood Meridian. And he's like, "Oh, wait till you read the Wendigo." So I was like, okay, I'll wait, and then I'll let you know.
I mean, Sledge is going to be. I think there's a film company interested in Sledge at the minute.
I don't know.
I think he put something out on X.
I know they're going to try and make a movie out of Sledge, which hey, that's awesome. I'm glad indie is getting that level of attention. But yeah, I don't know anything. You'd have to ask Nick because I was gonna say something else about something stupid I saw. Oh yeah, apparently Dave Grohl's like, "Oh, I'm going to therapy because I was cheating on my wife," and I'm just like, I'm just like, okay, do we need to know this? Because I don't want to know about this. Like, good, you're getting help for your problems. I don't want to fucking know about it. Like, I just want to sit here and do my own thing over here. Celebrities are fucking weird, man. Like, it's.
I think like everyone is weird, but celebrities are have a much broader audience to display their weirdness to.
That's a good point. that is a good point. But I was just like, oh my god. And yeah, Steve Stark was getting in on the action, and everyone was just roasting Dave Grohl in the comments. So I was just like, oh, this is. I also got a really great comment here. Let me just read it out here. I'm just like, this might be comment of the year right here. And he goes, therapy for what? Sticking his Richie in the wrong snatch. I'm like, yeah, that's comment of the year right there. That's fantastic. No, but
there's a lot of people who need therapy for that.
I'm like, look, I'm always of the opinion if you're gonna be a horn dog, like just be honest about it, like can't be that hard, people. And
you'd be surprised.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. No, it's I don't know. I'm just like, this is dumb. It was kind of funny because Steve said that, and I thought of his book. I'm blanking. I have it right over here.
Hot Dose of Hell.
Yes, Hot Dose of Hell. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, because it's all about those like virtue signalers who are who get in this situation like, oh no. I actually joked with Steve. I'm like, so you're literally doing 2 Danny Boyle movies in one book. Like it goes from like Train Spotting to 28 Days Later. He's like, yeah, I didn't think of it like that, but that's a good comparison.
Yeah. How long do you plan to keep going, Britton? Because my beer is empty and I need to know whether I should get another one or not.
Oh, I might go about another like 30 minutes. Yeah. We'll
in that case, I'm going to get one.
All right.
This is the last time where things are easier for me because we have time change next week and you already had it. So all of this is 1 hour earlier than usual for me.
Oh, very nice.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, Hot Dose of Hell's fun. It's a good book, man. I like it anyway.
Yes, Steve's next book is going to be out, I think, in the next 3 months or so.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I've been trying to get him on my podcast for a while, and I'm like, you know what? After I come back from this break that I've been doing in March, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fucking get him on. It's the last thing I do, dang it. And yeah, it was a fun book though. It's good if you want like a good like pulpy fun experience.
Yeah. If you want to get Steve on, the best time is try Sunday evenings. I know he's always free.
That's good to know.
So, well, it's usually, I should say, it's usually always free.
Yeah, Sledge the comic. I don't know if they have a Sledge comic. I know there have been people who've given illustrations of Sledge, but I don't know if there's a comic coming out. Again, you'll have to ask Nick Horvath about that.
I'd be surprised if there isn't, if eventually you don't have a Sledge comic, because it fits for comic book, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. If they do a comic adaptation, I think it would work very well because it's kind of a very kind of pulp character, like like a Conan or Jack Reacher, for the modern day. I'm also hoping to read a Muscle from John Davies because not as much as self-published crime books out there. So I did read Driver the other day. That was good.
Yeah, that's one thing. I'm not sure if you saw that post going around. It's sort of that one where he's got the bloke in the middle, who's stood in the middle with a sword surrounding him, and there was a post that said, "What opinion about indie publishing gets you like this?" And I just said that the dominance of fantasy and horror to give readers and writers a false impression about indie publishing.
Yeah. No, there is a lot of fantasy. I mean, I'm actually reading. I'm probably going to complete it this evening. What book is it? It's Mushroom Blues by Adrian M. Gibson, which is pretty good actually. It's kind of like China Mieville's The City in the City, except it has like more fungal people in it.
So it is like Finch.
Pretty much, yeah. I was gonna say Finch as well, but I've not read that yet. So even though
Finch is really good, highly recommend it. Finch is amazing.
But yeah, it's fun though. He has a fixation on the word ass. Usually when
the word?
No, usually like following an adjective. So it's like my drunk ass. You'll read like my drunk ass or his egotistical ass. It's all over this book. I know it's such like a small thing, but it's all over the damn place. I'm like, in a drinking game, you're either gonna wake up having a really bad day the next day, or you might get alcohol poisoning. I'm not sure.
I will have to. I would say that that's a very, very Lovecraftian kind of tick. Only that Lovecraft would never use the word ass, but something Greek probably, or bad Greek probably.
Possibly. But it's kind of like a play on like Japanese culture as well. So it's quite unusual, and it actually does some cool like world building stuff. So,
I mean,
anybody else hate it when fantasy
so
authors substitute the word? I don't really care either way, but you can tell like, oh, this is like a alternate Britton. It did throw me off. I read a book called The Good Lord Bird recently, which is about John Brown and his wacky escapades to free slaves. Good book. It's really good. But he uses
good guy.
The word, he uses the word pretty base guy, but he uses the word arse a couple times. I'm just like, is he British? Because never heard anybody but a British person say that.
I think it might, like, if it's quotes, it might also just be that like that in 19th century, even in America, people would still use the word arse.
Maybe. Yeah. Good book though. About a very fascinating figure.
I feel like the decline of the word arse can be blamed on the decline of proper piracy.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
No upright pirate would ever use the word ass.
No.
It's not gonna work.
No.
When they killed Blackbeard, they started using the word ass.
Though, going back to Mushroom Blues, he does seem quite fascinated by mushrooms and fungal related stuff. Yeah, which, cool. I'm always down for more like weird, China Mieville, Jeff Vandermeer type stuff. in fantasy. You know, I think indie would be a great place for that type of weird shit. But you know, it's fun. It's good time. Also, bits about imperialism and why that's a bad thing, and the scars of war. I think you would like it, Raph. Now that I'm thinking about it, or you would appreciate.
I mean, it does have an audiobook. I know that. I just haven't gotten around to it because, so many books, so little time, and even less.
Yeah, that's true. It also like won the Spiff Bow, so you're kind of like it also like almost won Spiff Bow, so you're just kind of like, oh, okay, well this book's got enough attention without me. Don't need me getting into the action. I disagree. I think Authority is the best one out of. I'm kind of an outlier because everyone loves Annihilation, but I'm like, I think Authority is even better. Like, I love that book.
I still have to get around to it. It's on my list of stuff I will definitely read at some point.
No, you don't have to read the fourth book, Absolution, unless you absolutely want to. It doesn't really affect the story all that
so
much.
the thing is that for the longest time, there was some fuckery with like region lock on the audiobook, so you could only get Annihilation, and then you couldn't get book 2 and 3. And
that's annoying.
Yes, it is. And then
that's annoying is what I meant to say.
Yeah, it was really fucking annoying because right at the beginning they had all of them, and I didn't buy them right when they came out because I was, money and stuff. And like when I was like, oh, I should probably get to this, then suddenly I could only get the first one, and then obviously I didn't do that because why would I? And now I have found ways to actually access some audiobooks that are technically in the region lock to the US, so I have access to the entire like Area X trilogy. I haven't obviously checked into the new one. But I haven't, gotten around to it because, books and stuff.
Oh, Demodrek, I'm just going to say this with as much love as I possibly can, but you are absolutely mistaken. It is not bad. So there you go. You're just wrong. Bring the pitchforks. He's threatening to. He was all like, "Oh, I'm going to bring pitchforks to your house after that Gardens of the Moon discussion." I was like, "Oh man, serious business."
Ha! Give it to the linguist in the chat to actually figure this one out. Thanks, Liam.
Man, fucking The Devil Takes You Home won the Bram Stoker, and I actually recently saw a review of that, just absolutely just gashing it, and it was glorious. I loved it. Like, I was just like, yes, more of this. And they ripped into his other book, and it was also glorious. So, I've had a good weekend so far, is what I'm getting at.
This is like very much the Laurent Binet chat today, isn't it? We talked about the seventh function of language earlier.
Yeah, no, we're just thriving on negativity today.
The Bewitching is a really good book. I really enjoyed that one. I really liked it. I can recommend it. I have you read it by now, Thornall? I know that you wanted to, but I wasn't sure if you had.
Oh, we got another guest in here. He's a general guest, usually in the comments section, but he wanted to join in.
And Buffalo Hunter is also obviously fucking amazing.
To share the gift of Primus with us mere plebeians. John. How you doing, John?
What's up, Loki dude?
How you doing, buddy?
I just want to try this out. My dog there's two songs that he goes nuts about. One is this one, Too Many Puppies, and the other one is Old Sweet Nothing by Lou Reed. And all right. Crazy. So let's see if he does it. Hopefully he's gonna have fun, but
I have not read Stoner, by the way. Have you, Raph?
What?
Have you read Stoner, the John Williams?
I have not.
Anti-war song. Too many puppies. No war in Iran.
Oh boy. Trying to question this. Dog's really into music.
Just a minute here. You heard him sing? Too many puppies. Come on, Charlie. Let's sing.
Having ourselves a little concert here today.
Oh, all right. He does it better a lot of other times than that, but he will like howl. He didn't quite do it that time, but Promise is a good band.
It is.
But I want to hop off here. And no war in Iran. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah,
they won't hear any arguments from me on that one.
Yeah, so we don't want war. Don't like Trump, but I'll holler at you later, Okie dude.
All right, take care, John.
I wish it went better, but he does better most other times.
Maybe some other time.
Promise is cool though.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. But no, I have not read Stoner. Honestly, it's one of the. It's like when Blood Meridian blew up on YouTube a couple years ago. Like, it's just one of those like books that just came out of nowhere, and people were like, "Oh, this book's really good." And I'm just kind of like, "But is it?" Like, I'm not sure, man. I don't, Aaron, have you read Stoner?
I've not. No, is it John Williams, the author, or John Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the author, not the musician.
I've not read it. I've heard of it, and I've got to be honest. As far as I can tell, the plot seems to be about an academic who doesn't look like his life, which doesn't interest me in the slightest.
That's fair. Yeah, no, but but is a fair question. Yeah, I was about to say, I remember Liam was kind of like meh about it, which I thought was like, that's a radical fucking statement right there. Like
there is a sort of American novel that's usually published in the 50s and 60s that seems to be in the sort of mold of that.
I've read John Updike, some of John Updike, and like Philip Roth, and I already angst about my age and getting with women. I don't want to read books about it. It's too close to home, guys. But no, I don't know.
All right, I have read 2 of the nominated novels for the Nebula, and that is, of course, Death of the Author and The Buffalo Hunter. I've not read any of the others. When it comes to novellas, I've read 1, I think. Yeah, and that was The River Has Roots by Amal El-Motar, which is really good.
I heard of these. Again, I'm really bad at keeping up with modern books. So if I'm about to say, then again, I'm real bad at keeping up with the modern books. Because I mean, there's great authors out there, but a lot of the authors I really like are not publishing anything at the moment. I mean, well, Marlon James is coming out with a new book, but not many others. Oh yeah, James Ellroy's putting out a new book this year. I don't know if I'm going to read it because I haven't read any of the Otash books yet. But yeah.
You're going to read the American Tabloid this year, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
You'll enjoy it. It's really good.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have a chat about it. I'm like, God, who am I going to invite? Because there's a couple friends of mine really like it. Well, there's some I haven't liked, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I think once you've read it, you'll want to go on to read Cole 6000 and then Blood Rover. It's one of those books, and the whole trilogy that's what draws you along as you read it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to read the whole trilogy. I'm just going to read American Tabloid this year because I already have, I'm going to be reading the trilogy that this book is the first book of, and then I'm going to read the Jade trilogy. I'm like, I don't want to stuff like 3 trilogies in the 1 year. good to go, buddy. But but yeah, it's
Oh, Jeff Lemire is nominated for a Nebula in Best Comics for Fish Flies.
oh yeah, that's a good book. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. What? Yeah, it was either American Tabloid or My Dark Places. I said on American Tabloid, so I'm like, well, I like JFK assassination. Well, I don't like it, but it's a subject that fascinates me. No, we'll see. Well, yeah. Yeah, I think the Jade books are actually the newest books I'm going to be reading this year. Again, I'm real bad at keeping up with new books.
Yeah, I read new books, but they're almost all indie. I don't read anything that's traditionally published that's new, generally, just because I don't find there's much that interests me.
Oh God, don't even get me started on this. There's so many freaking books, man. I was like, you're killing me, guys.
Yes, Thornell, I too very much care about Silvia Moreno Garcia as an author. She has a new one coming out this year. There's a few authors where there's going to be like one book per year, and it's Chuck Tingle and Silvia Moreno Garcia, I guess. And both are great, is what I'm saying.
Hold on, I'm trying to.
I feel like the thing with like Stoner for me was like I'm just not interested. It doesn't sound interesting. And all the people reading it go, oh, it's so meaningful and so deep. It's like, well, is it though? Or
like, we're just reaming on it, even though we've not read it.
No, no, it may well be, and I can see it, especially for people that loved it, that are working in education themselves, our teachers, for example. I can see how it works for that, but it's like, I am not that kind of person. How would I'm not American. I'm not a teacher. I'm not, yes, I'm lost, but like in a different way, right? Like, it's like, I don't think I can find that much in that book. So maybe I'll read it at some point, but like, just like with fucking Magic Mountain, I'm not going to talk about it because what's the point? I don't need to prove my erudition by making a video about how deep the Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann is, and I don't need to prove my, serious literary bona fides by going like, well, I've read Stoner by John Williams and it's a good book, and there's all this deep meaning in there. It's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna talk about fucking Conan the Barbarian instead because I can.
Yeah.
And then I'll just drop a fucking Thomas Mann reference in there on the side.
Yeah, I've only read it's like doing like a Great Gatsby video. Even though I already did a Great Gatsby video. It's like, that was more like me explaining why I love that book so much. It wasn't really me going like, oh, so guess what, guys? The green light, that's Gatsby's yearning for a better life, and you're like, oh yeah, because I got that.
Liam, I am definitely reading a lot of Sanderson, but I usually like to read him. Since he rarely publishes standalones, I am not going to read these things unless he has like a full series done, or at least a sub-series done. Because I hate waiting on books. No, but he has a new thing coming out that I'm really, really skeptical about. Apparently there's like a collaboration with another author, and it's some urban fantasy thing about a death metal fan necromancer. And like, in the long list of people I would trust with writing about death metal fans, Brandon Sanderson is definitely not number one.
I hope he never accepts Trist.
In my, I just can't compute the idea of like.
You know what's funny? My friend Sam just talked to Orson Scott Card or he had him. Had
I
a
heard
video
about that.
it,
Yeah.
of talking to him yesterday, and I'm just like, yo, that's crazy. I mean, I'm not really like a fan of Card. I don't really think he's that great of a writer, but I'm like, he's been really going on the Orson Scott Card train. I was just kind of like Alvin Maker anyway, and I'm just like, do I want to read Alvin Maker? I don't know. Like, we'll see. Liam, you're Mormon. Who would you say is the best like Mormon fantasy author out of all of them?
Probably one that you never knew that they were Mormon to begin with. What's the guy who does the Rune series? I always keep forgetting his name. I would probably pick that one. David something.
Speaking of, apparently DJ Butler started a YouTube channel. I was going to watch his video about Lord of the Rings. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I'm probably going to watch that after we're done here because I've been meaning to see that. I do want to read his books, though, because it sounds interesting. Because I kept saying, like, I'd like to see more Americana in fantasy.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, right now, I am not bashing Sanderson. I'm just going like, he's very good at some specific things, and yeah, I agree. Gothic probably not what I would expect from him, and yeah, writing about a urban fantasy death metal magician, I don't know. Drinking his Coke Zero and listening to "Fucked with a Knife" by Cannibal Corpse. I can just like see that in my mind.
Yeah, he's just rocking out to like heavy metal music.
Not just heavy metal music, like death metal in particular, which is, you know, the thing you probably imagine when you hear like heavy metal, right? Like the really deep death, like growling vocals, and it's all about like zombies and blood and shit, and you know, Cannibal Corpse and bands like that, 6 Feet Under, you know. Long, complex titles that have a lot of like medical vocabulary in there because they're all about, you know, dismemberment.
Yeah, no, well, he says DJ Butler is the best Mormon, so I mean, okay, yeah.
Is he the best Mormon or the best Mormon author? I assume there's a difference. No,
it still kind of throws me that there's Mormonism in other countries because like it's such like an American centric religion. I just can't. It's hard for me to imagine it outside of America.
I mean, the Mormonism, like the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, started going on missions heavily immediately, like very, very early on, and they picked up a lot of converts, especially in Britain in the 1850s, because they offered, you know, places in America to settle in the States to settle and so forth. And if you go to Manchester in like I don't know 1840 something, and you offer people like, you know, we have a community that helps you to go to Utah, and you get like places to settle and a community to work for, you know, where you can go. That sounds very, very tempting to a lot of people in, say, Manchester in like the 1840s. So yeah, they had like a huge inflow from sort of like people that were not very happy with being on the, say, losing side of the Industrial Revolution. So that's why you get like Mormon missions in these countries that sort of like facilitate the migration and everything, and that stayed. And you have a strong Mormon community in Germany as well, for example, and Switzerland.
There's an interesting one with the missionaries when they come to Britain, especially in the Edwardian era. There's a big sort of religious controversy between the Mormons and the Anglicans, because there's this business where the missionaries are coming over and they're not necessarily, I don't use the word targeting, but they're focusing on young women, and Anglican clergy are essentially one Sunday the woman's in the has come to church with a family, and then the next Saturday, Sunday, the clergyman's having to deal with the fact that her parents are beside themselves with horror that she's gone off with this missionary and she's disappeared. And so there's the huge the controversy over in Britain about that going on.
I mean, that's the first Sherlock Holmes story is about that. The first one that was ever written is about Mormon missionaries kidnapping women.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I don't remember that one. I'll have to find that.
Actually,
Well, that's and like Brigham Young was a missionary in Britain, and we have his diaries and everything from the time when he was, being, having pretty severe culture shock, to put it mildly.
Yeah, I actually have a copy of the Book of Mormon because I was hanging out with some Mormon missionaries.
I have 2 copies.
A while back, and they're like, I think they stopped talking to me once they realized I wasn't going to convert to Mormonism. I was just kind of interested in like knowing about it, just so like I know. And they're like, "Oh, okay, this guy's not converting. We're going to leave him alone." And then some other guy showed up. I'm like, "Okay." I finally just had to go, guys. You guys are nice. You know, I like you guys, but I'm not interested in joining Mormonism. And they're like, "Oh, real sorry about that."
Okay, technically I have like 3 copies. I have like 2 print copies. One.
He said, "Yeah, God's sad though," and I'm just like, "Fuck you." that was when I was kind of like, you know what? No. That's fucking manipulative, bro.
Like, looking at the world, I was already pretty sure that God was pretty sad. Like, I mean, I don't think me converting or not converting does make that much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. But like, no. Technically I have 3 copies of the Book of Mormon. I have like 2 printed ones, one nice one in hardcover, like faux leather, that I got from a friend. A friend of a friend, basically, whose mother was had converted, so it's a nice one. And then I have a paperback version I got in Poland when I visited a not yet fully finished. I don't think it's a full temple there, but like in Warsaw, we got like a tour through the whole thing, because obviously you can't get in there once it's done, once it's sanctified, but it wasn't yet. So we got a nice tour there and could look at everything, and then we all got like a nice copy because it was like a student conference, and we all got one in our own language. So I have a German copy in that regard, and then I obviously have like a audiobook version in English, because and of course I have English audiobook of the Doctrines and Covenants, because I'm not a good Mormon, but certainly someone who's read a lot of stuff on it.
You know what's funny? I got you'll like this one, Raph. I was actually asking Liam the other day. This was like a few months ago. About like Mormon
the other
stuff.
day, that was a few months ago.
Yeah, the other day, it was a few months ago. I was like, "Hey, Liam, do you have any like recommendations for like any like Mormon related stuff that like isn't part of the church?" And he's like, "Well, I have recommendations, but I don't know if they like outside of the church. You might want to ask Raph about it. He knows more." I'm like, damn it. I mean, I'll do that, but I want something more from the horse's mouth. But that's okay. I'll go talk to Raph, and the Raph's like, "You should read American Zion." I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll just do that then.
Like, as I've said this before, I think like right now, if you want to get like an overview of Mormon history in particular, I do recommend Benjamin Park's American Zion. That one is just like a really good, solid good overview history. Came out in early 2024, I think, or maybe 2025. No, 2024, and is thus relatively up to date. And Park is either still LDS member or former LDS member, but he had access to large parts of the archives in Utah and everything. So in Salt Lake City, so it's a really good overview. He also wrote what I really recommend. You might love that one, Britton, is his book Kingdom of Nauvoo, which is more like a micro history about the city of Nauvoo in Illinois, where the Saints settled after they got expelled from Missouri, and they stayed there until Joseph Smith got killed, and all of that stuff went down. And it's a very much like a micro history with all the documents, and it's a really cool book.
I also read Mark Twain's review of the Book of Mormon, where he just ripped on it. It's pretty hilarious.
He actually met Brigham Young, though.
Oh, he did? I didn't know that.
Yes. So Brigham Young was already governor of the then still like territory of Deseret, or territory of Utah, and Mark Twain traveled there with, it must have been like near the end or shortly after the Civil War. Like, so he traveled there with, as a very young Mark Twain, with his older brother, uncle, whatever, who was there on government business to do something. I keep forgetting what. And Mark Twain was with him, and they met. So he met Brigham Young for like a meeting there. Gods, I really should start like a channel on Mormon history at this point.
We're still waiting for that. We're still waiting for the Mormon video. Because, you know, Raph, he loves going the extra mile and talk about why he's you know, I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say, but still waiting for the Mormon video was my point. Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm not trying to like crap on Mormonism or anything. I'm just like, yeah, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think you would really appreciate what Park does with American Zion. I think it's a really good book, and Kingdom of Nauvoo is just like really cool because you have all the ridiculous like frontier town kind of shenanigans, and who gets drunk when and hides from when, and it's, you know, where the whole plural marriage stuff starts, and who has and all the different sort of like ways this sort of like plays out in the beginning. It's, you know, it's a fascinating book, and it just focuses on like this weird part of frontier life in a lot of ways. So it might be interesting just for that. And it's you know, just like cool shit.
I don't think so, Demidrag. Maybe I'll have to listen to it later and I'll get back with you. But nah, that song doesn't ring a bell.
Gods, Liam, that one is good.
Yeah, no, yeah, like I remember reading about like, you know, like there were like battles between like Mormons and like the American government. So I mean, it's pretty saucy history.
Like the whole thing that went down in Missouri
against Native Americans. I don't remember.
Like the Mormon War in Missouri, that stuff was insane.
When is it not when it comes to like religious conflicts? There's always something weird going on there. Oh, okay. Well, good luck with that, Dimidrek. I know jazz can be quite hard, you know, with all the modes, stuff like that. I don't know what instruments you play, Dimidrek. But yes, it's been fun. I love how we're back on the Mormonism talk, you know. It's like all things lead back to Mormonism in some way or another.
I mean, and that's like the thing that I've learned, like with the Mormons, it is a fundamentally American religion in a lot of ways. It says a lot about America, like the United States, in a lot of ways, and that I think is interesting because you can see how LDS doctrines and ideas and so forth change over time in parallel with U.S. history, and how, you know, in the beginning when they moved to Utah, they're like, yeah, no, we're going to do our own shit and so forth, and then in the early 1900s, then with Robert Joseph Fielding Smith, Joseph F. Smith, I think is that one, yeah. Being president, they try to sort of like slowly get back into like a U.S. consensus. That's when the plural marriage stuff is abandoned for the time being, and so forth. And then you can see how in the 20s they're getting more and more progressive, and then in the 30s and like 40s you have like a massive backlash. And that's when they align with the general religious right, both the evangelical right and the Catholic right, and so forth. And that's something that happens mostly post World War II in a lot of ways, and that's where like the LDS Church is finally sort of like fully accepted in American mainstream, is when they find allies in the religious right in general, which is really frustrating when you see how progressive Mormonism was, especially when it comes to gender equality and stuff like that. It's like obviously not perfect, but there
was that kind of bigamy thing. Everyone was kind of like, yeah, that I don't like that.
You'd be surprised. That one is way more nuanced than you might think, in a lot of ways. It starts out much more like a polycule than anything else, really. Like in the beginning, because there are women that are married in plural marriage to Joseph Smith while still remaining married to their original husband, and everyone knows about it. So it's early Mormon plural marriage is far more of a polycule than anything else, and then the whole thing gets like very much restructured under Brigham Young. And it's like in a lot of ways, I feel like Brigham Young, often called like the Moses of Mormonism, which I think is, I mean, it's obvious because he leads them into to Utah and everything. I get it, but like in a lot of ways, he's far more like the Apostle Paul of not apostle, like, you know what I mean, like Saint Paul of
I like Liam's comment. Grab another beer and we could talk Mormonism all night. I don't know if I want that. I have other things I want to do this evening or afternoon, I should say. Islam's pretty weird. I remember I flipped to. I was kind of looking at the Quran in a bookstore, and like the first thing I saw was like, oh, it's okay, husbands, when your wife does, I don't remember what the wife did wrong, but if they do that, you should beat them. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put that down. What are the odds?
To be fair, that's something you find in a lot of religions, that commandment.
I'm just like, what is it with religions and beating up women? Stop. That's not right.
It's a question of hierarchy and power, as always. That's like the sad truth of it. But you had the Women's Relief Society, which was a huge part in like the LDS Church for the longest time, and was very much like a separate sort of like organization that was very powerful, and that was heavily folded into and like actually pushed under the general authority of the LDS Church in the 70s, 60s and 70s and 80s, and that's when they got like how you have that big realignment with like Jerry Falwell and the moral majority,
oh boy,
and stuff like that. Yeah. But did you know that Utah was the first state where women could vote?
Oh, I didn't know that.
It technically was the second one that gave women the franchise, but because the elections were earlier than in the other state, the first time women were allowed to vote was in Utah.
Oh.
Because people thought at the time that like if women were allowed to vote, they would totally vote polygamy out, and they didn't.
Well, to be fair, I mean, in Oklahoma, there's still like prohibition laws. So I mean, some things never really go away after you flirt with it.
And that was like that was in like the 1890s. The like women's franchise in Utah is in the 1890s. It's like really early. As always, it's really complicated. If you want to read a good book on that, there's a book by Laurel Thatcher Ulrich called A House Full of Females, which is mostly original sources, diaries, letters, and so forth of women from like the 1830s to the 1870s.
I'm sorry.
Looking at like the primary sources of how women felt and organized and so forth in that sort of like first, like in the pioneer days of Mormonism in a lot of ways. It's really interesting to see how people made those things work or not work in a lot of ways. So yeah, as I like it, I may have opinions. But I would probably slowly move out because it's like 11:30 here, and
Yeah, I was about to stop this anyway. So, because like generally these I like to go at least 2.5 hours to 3 at longest. So yeah, so I'm probably gonna end it quite soon. But yeah, I guess I'll just call it here. Thank you, Aaron and Raph, for showing up here today, hanging out for a little bit.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, I guess I'll just go here. So yeah, check these two out. They're really cool. Raph just made a video recently about, I'm blanking.
None Such by Francis Spufford. It's a really good book. It came out last week. It's about the Blitz in London and angels.
Fair enough. But anyway, until next time, see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Oh.